What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It's your host, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys here today. We got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you. James Gunn is speaking out about Peacemaker, along with some other DCU updates for you guys today. We also got an Iron Man 3 director and Shane Black speaking out about RDJ playing Doctor Doom in Avengers Doomsday. We also have a little bit of a tease in regards to X-Men 97 Season 2. What can we certainly expect? All that plus much more. So sit back, relax, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? It is your host, Adam Perez, and co-host Stuart Branscombe back once again for another episode of A-Plus Hero Report, live every Sunday for you guys. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Doing good. Still trying to wake up, but I'll get there by the time we get to the first article.
I feel I feel bad all the time. Like, I get to start the show at 11 o'clock here in Texas, and I always feel bad when I'm like, what time is it for Stuart? It's 9 o'clock now, dude. I don't know if you are a trooper, Stuart, because for me on a Sunday morning, if somebody's like, hey, bro, get up at 9 o'clock and let's talk, I'm like, dude, I'm sleeping, my guy. Like, can we push this to 10? So you are a true trooper, Stuart. Thank you so much, man.
Well, thank you. Yeah, most days it's fine. I mean, it's really, if I'm being honest, dude, it's because I do this to myself. Like, I could have, I actually opened yesterday, which is rare for a Saturday, so I could have just gone to bed at a reasonable time and I would have been fine. But no, I'm the kind of guy that's like, no, I need to make the most of my night, so I don't sleep until like 2 or 3 sometimes.
I definitely used to be like, I still try to be like that, which is crazy. Like, even though I know I gotta work at like 9 o'clock in the morning sometimes, I'll be like, I'll try and stay up till 2 and 3. Like, even though I know I gotta be up in the morning, it's just like, I don't know. It's like I gotta try and get in as much stuff as I can before I wrap up the day,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what it is.
Some of the times for me, it's also because, like, if I'm closing, it's like, I know I don't want the last thing I think about before I go to bed to be work. So it's like, I need to put on a movie or something.
I feel you there, man. I feel you there. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. We're going to finally be catching up on some Peacemaker today. We've been trying to get together for weeks, but something just always comes up. If it's not you, it's me. And so, you know what? I was like, you know what? Today, especially after how episode 6 landed on Thursday night, if you guys haven't checked out Peacemaker, we will be talking about the latest episode as we talk about also some things that James Gunn talked about for this upcoming season and the future. So we'll definitely be talking about that a little bit.
Wait, sorry. We're talking about Peacemaker and you haven't finished Peacemaker, or you're not caught up with Peacemaker?
No, I am.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay, good. I'm like, oh, why are you doing this to yourself?
No, I'm caught up with Peacemaker. But yeah, we're just going to talk about episode number 6 and where we're at so far. Maybe the next couple of weeks, since we only have 2 episodes left, maybe we will do like a mini review for Peacemaker on each episode of Hero Report to wrap things up. So we'll see how it goes. But thank you, everybody that's certainly here. Do me a favor. I've been hearing about a hype button on YouTube lives. I don't know if that's something that we have available as a YouTube channel yet, or if we've like unlocked that achievement here. I have no idea personally, but I have been watching a couple of lives on YouTube, and I do usually see at the bottom of the video like where the like buttons and stuff are at, and the share buttons, they're being like a hype button. I don't know if that's a thing for us or not, but if there is one, hype up this video. If not, like it. Please do so. It's free. It costs you absolutely nothing. It takes 1 second. If you're in the live chat with us here today, we certainly would appreciate that as we get through today's topics. And remember, at the end of the day, these are simply our A+ opinions. We always want to know yours. So as we go through all of the topics of discussion, feel free to interject and let your thoughts and be known in the live chat or in the comments after this episode wraps up. And because we always love to hear from you. If you want to help us out monetarily, that would be fantastic. We got super chats available. I think we got super images or super stickers, or I'm sure there's a couple of options for you guys to help out if you can. But if not, because money's tight these days, a lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. I totally understand. If you can't help us out monetarily, like I said, like, share, clip these videos, let people know we are in fact live. We certainly would appreciate it. But let's go ahead and dive into some live comments and give love to people that are tuning in with us today. We definitely have our regulars around here, Stuart, is what I noticed, and I continue to appreciate it. I think there's even like for our regulars or people that attend our live chats, I think there might be like a ranking system now. I think you might be like
Oh.
considered like a number one subscriber or like a number two or something like that. I don't know. I think they might give like experience points away for how active you are, which I think is pretty cool.
I always thought that was for like people who do the YouTube channel memberships.
Maybe I thought I saw something at the bottom in the live chat. I think it might show like experience and stuff.
Oh, you know what it is? I don't have the YouTube itself. I don't have YouTube itself open, so that's why I can't see
Oh, okay. Yeah,
it.
top fans. Blossom coming in at number 1 with 75 experience points. Ricky Perez at number 2, and Hungry Almighty at number 3. Our top 3 fans here with the experience points. I don't know how they
Cool.
yeah, I don't know how they go about maybe that's from the super chats in the past or how active they are in the chat. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, they're taking notice of who's top fans around here, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably just from how much they interact, like in the chat in
In a chat,
general.
it could be. Yeah,
Yeah,
you might be right. If that's the case, where's Marcelino, man? You would think Marcelino's up there somewhere.
I wonder if the
Uh,
changings rank as different people enter.
It could be. It could be. Let's give some shout out and some love to people that are joining us today. Enrique Perez. Hey, Adam, saw the official trailer for Star Wars Visions Volume 3. We'll definitely talk about that. Anime looks amazing here. We'll talk about it a little bit. Also confirmed that Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse pushed earlier the release date weekly from June 27th to June 18th. So they've got some movement in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Whoever, I will say this, whoever is releasing at the box office that week, just move out of the way. All right. Like
Mhm.
Beyond the Spider-Verse should be like the only movie that releases that week. Give yourself like a 2-week grace period before you drop anything after that movie. Also saw the official teaser trailer for Prep and Landing, the Snowball Protocol holiday special for Walt Disney Animation Studios. All right, that's cool. And finally saw the second trailer for Avatar Fire and Ash. Well, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that as well. Ram Jam in the house. How's it going, buddy? Good to see you. I was playing some PS3 games. I didn't know this was there was a Deadpool video game for the PS3. I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's yeah, hack and slash video game, and of course, you know, all the Deadpool human is there. It was a little
Nice.
bit before the 2016 movie, but they do kind of have like, you know, I honestly thought it was Ryan Reynolds voicing him originally back in the day, but it's God, it's one of the really famous voice actors whose name's slipping my mind, like Nolan North or something like that.
Oh, okay. The guy that did Uncharted and stuff. He did a lot.
Yeah,
He does a lot of voices though.
yeah, he jokingly said once when someone was asking how do you get into video voice acting, he's like, okay, so the easiest way to get into the industry is you got to legally change your name to Nolan North.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I need to get back to playing video games, man. When he brings up PS3, the first thing that came to my mind was my friend Manny, who anytime I go over to his house, he's got like this big ass TV with this entertainment center that like each cupboard has like a different video game console. And I'm like, dude, that's so crazy to me. But it's pretty impressive.
Like I got that kind of like I got a shelf with a bunch of video game consoles, but it's really more for display than anything else. Cause like
Uh,
I'm sure I could rig it so I could plug them all into the TV if I got like a couple of extra cords. It's just not worth the effort. And it's like I don't see myself going out of my way to play, you know, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Like usually if I want to play something like Super Mario Brothers or Legend of Zelda, I'll likely play it like as an emulator or on the or on the Nintendo like mini. So it's like I really have them like more out just for display than anything.
Yeah, I guess when I start introducing my son to video games, should I go the Nintendo route first because of the simple up down A B A B? Should I introduce him to like the big ass confusing controllers nowadays. I really have no idea, but eventually we'll get there. Eventually.
I think
What's up, Blossom?
I think Nintendo's a good way to start because, like, I think the simplistic design just makes it easier for you to get into, like, at a young age.
Blossom's in the house. Holy Queen Serenity. I think Adam and I are in the same time zone. Yeah, I'm in Central Time Zone here. Hungry Almighty. Did you guys see that James Gunn basically confirmed Brave and the Bold will release in 2030? I did see that. He has talked about the idea that regardless in 2027, a Batman movie will release. It looks like that's definitely going to be Matt Reeves' Batman, but I certainly expect Brave and the Bold to got to be like 2028, maybe 2029 at the latest, but I would expect 2028. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Hungry. Hunter Iggy, what's up, Iggy? I want a season 3 of Peacemaker. I think a lot of people probably do also. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Blossom says, I think that it's because of how active we are. Oh, talking about the experience points. Marcelino, what's up? Marcelino, experience points is always based on the current live stream. It always resets every time. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Marcelino. So I guess maybe based off of maybe the comments that you leave, the number of comments, maybe you keep going up higher in the rank. That might explain some things. Hi guys, I'm still waiting for Disney reboot 4th film Shrunk with Josh Gad. We're talking about Honey I Shrunk the Kids stuff. That would be.
I thought they already did a
Disney
remake.
reboot 4th film Shrunk with Josh Gad. Is that a thing?
Googling it now.
Because that sounds kind of dope. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I've watched a Honey I Shrunk the Kid since the second one, which I think was what Honey I Blew Up the Kid. I didn't even know they made any more after that, with the exception, I guess maybe like straight to streaming home video or something.
Oh, so yeah, the Josh. Wow, if I had a nickel for every reboot that Josh Gad is involved with that involves Rick Moranis, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happening twice. Because, yeah, he's involved with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reboot. And we also know that there's going to be a
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs reboot, also with Rick Moranis. Did the two of them just
crazy.
meet up one day and Josh Gad was the one to convince him to come out of retirement?
Maybe he's like, I'm going to revitalize your career, Rick. Let's work together.
Oh, that's okay. I got a wife and kids. You're getting your career revitalized, whether you want it or not.
Yeah, that's so crazy. He must be a huge Rick Moranis fan for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's anybody I think that can reboot some of great popular things that Rick was into, it's probably Josh Gad. I kind of like his humor personally. Have you checked out the Digimon Beat Break final trailer? I have not. I
think I checked out the images for it.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you everybody that's sent in some comments this morning. Again, feel free to continue to let them come in. Have some live chats, comments throughout the entirety of this week's episode. But as you guys do that, Stuart, let's go ahead and kick off the show with our first segment of the day. And we're going to get into some honorable mentions. Remember, also, before we get into honorable mentions, we do have live viewer questions up for you guys. If you want to submit a live viewer question over, we're going to tackle these at the end of today's show. Go over to our YouTube page, click on the post tab. There is a live viewer question post for you guys to submit your question. And again, we'll get that towards the end of today's episode. And if you are watching us live, do me a big favor and hit that like button. Doesn't cost you anything. It really would help out a ton. All right. Stuart, any honorable mentions for today's show?
Yeah, this is one that we may have talked about in the past, but either I completely forgot about it or I just wasn't as excited until I saw this trailer. But there is a remake on the horizon after Red Sonja, which I haven't seen yet, but I hear people really enjoy.
The remake? This Red Sonja remake?
Okay. Yeah, the remake of Red Sonja. Haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it. It's only a matter of time before we get more of those like Conan. But before we get to Conan, Conan, we got someone kind of like Conan, but with a little bit more edge to him, you know, a little bit less money and a little more exploitation, I guess you could say. That is Deathstalker. We have a Deathstalker remake in the works, and the trailer, I didn't know about this until like yesterday at work when I was working one of my theaters, and that trailer happened to pop up, and I was just like, yeah, it's this really they're not good, but they're fun. They're just so entertaining. These really old exploitation barbarian movies, barbarian fantasy kind of thing. They're hella fun. Really bad. If you are sensitive about SA, though, there is a bit of it in those movies, just to let people know, in case you're thinking of checking them out. But yeah, if you can look past that, these movies are just like absolute trash in the best way. So this is the reboot that is on the horizon. I'm about to share the trailer for it right now. Here we go. So this is the trailer for the reboot. I believe it's by the same guy who directed Psycho Gorman and Frankie Frico, but I'm not sure. It looks like it, like visually, it definitely kind of has the same aesthetics.
Who is he? They say he was once a knight. Before the war.
Whoa.
Knights. Surgeon with a sword.
Whoa. The Void. Okay.
Name.
What name would that be?
Wait, no, I can't. The fucking guitar riff. I can't. Who's that actor's name?
I don't know. I don't recognize him.
Stalker.
Yeah, I recognize him in a bunch of stuff, though.
Come and get it.
Oh.
The mighty Deathstalker!
Ain't no way. Ain't no way this is a real movie, Studer. What the fuck was that? What kind of Final Fantasy-esque sword was that, dog? What the hell? What? How do you even hold that?
Hey man, it's the world of fantasy. You don't question it. Swords the size of freaking skyscrapers, and somehow bikini armor making you stronger. It makes no sense, but you know what? I buy it anyways.
For a second, I was like, "Is this in the Conan like cinematic universe?" Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
No. Yeah, I think it was made shortly after the first Conan movie because it was just trying to capitalize on like Conan's success. But yeah, like I just the moment I saw the costume designs, I think that's what kind of hooked me on this like the most was like the costume designs, the monster makeup. Because yeah, I'm a sucker for anything that kind of reminds me of Power Rangers, and that's exactly what I got from this. This feels like R-rated, metal fantasy Power Rangers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like, dude. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Yeah, what's his name?
Deathstalker.
Stalker. Okay.
So I think you know the cliche of saying the title of the movie in the movie itself.
Oh yeah, I love when that happens. It makes me laugh.
I think my favorite has to go to Deathstalker 2 when the villain goes, "I'm going to take my revenge on the world." And Deathstalker 2.
No. Breaking the fourth wall. Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, because I was like, this looks like a Xena or Hercules level budget, but like in a streaming service or something. I don't know. It's just, yeah, something else for sure.
Yeah.
Actor name is Daniel Bernhardt. He done Bloodsport films and also was in Hunger Games. Yeah, I'm like, why did you pick up this film, dog? Like, I felt like his stock is higher than Deathstalker, but maybe he saw something in the script.
Well, we also saw in the name, we didn't see him in the trailer, but they mention in the name of actors, Patton Oswalt.
Oh, he's in this movie too. I
Yeah.
guess sometimes you just pick up movies to pick up movies. Because I thinking of also like Toxic Avenger. I mean, you got big names in there, and that was definitely, but that was more like a trauma inspired kind of film. So I can understand why people would jump on board that. But yeah, this is an interesting one. I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Stuart.
Of course.
A couple quick honorable mentions also, maybe not super quick, but Highlander's back in the news. I don't know why I didn't get a photo of this, but the WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, for you wrestling fans, has been cast in Chad Zaleski's Highlander. He was cast as Henry Cavill's brother in the movie. I do love Drew McIntyre as a big WWE fan personally. Every time he comes out, you feel like he's naturally pulled from a Highlander movie. So it's like this feels extremely appropriate for him. But yeah, so check out Drew McIntyre. I don't know if this is like his first movie experience or if he's been cast in other things before, but Drew McIntyre will be in Highlander. I don't know how big the role is. It just says Henry Cavill's brother. So we'll see. We'll see where that takes us.
Also, I like this. Christopher Lee said every actor makes a bad movie, but the goal is to not give a bad performance.
Amen to that. I can that would make a lot of sense. I did have another one. I'm trying to find the story for me to pull it up. But we do have some casting news in regards to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Actually, you know what? I think I have a photo I can add to this. Yes, I do. Let me pull this up here. Give me one moment. Because we do have new casting news. Marvin Jones the third is set to play the crime boss of Tombstone in Spider-Man Brand New Day, according to Deadline. Production for Brand New Day is underway, although for those of you who don't know, it was paused for a week because Tom Holland suffered a concussion on this set. He's okay. He's healing and recovering, but he did suffer a concussion on set doing a stunt. So while production is paused, they decided to go ahead and drop this casting announcement that Marvin Jones III has been tapped to play the role of Tombstone. It says Jones comes to a new live action Spider-Man. He did voice Tombstone for those of you who saw the Into the Spider-Verse movies. I believe in Across the Spider-Verse he or maybe it was Into the Spider-Verse, I can't remember, but he has voiced Tombstone before, and now he's getting the opportunity to be the live action version of the character as well, which I thought is pretty sweet, if you ask me. I loved him as Tobias Whale in Black Lightning, and I feel like Tombstone is almost like a Tobias Whale in his own sense. So this almost feels like perfect casting to me.
Yeah, I thought so too. I got kind of excited when I saw this, and mostly because I know him from Black Lightning, but also because he's already kind of voiced the character in Spider-Man before. The only thing was that it kind of means like for the Spider-Man show on Disney Plus, which to me always felt like it was meant to be a MCU adjacent, like it's in that same like universe, just like a split timeline. This I feel like kind of confirms because I assume he's not the same age as Tom Holland. That they're not going to try to make him the same age. It's like I guess this kind of confirms that the Spider-Man Disney Plus show is definitely not MCU adjacent. Anything that they say that kind of resembles the MCU is just coincidence and nothing more.
Yeah, Marcelino says there were rumors that Tombstone would have been the main villain in El Muerto. If it was made. Thank God it wasn't made. Yeah. Thank God it wasn't made either. Next up, the script for Superman, Man of Tomorrow, or at least titled Man of Tomorrow, is complete, or at least draft 1, as you can see, or is that draft 2? It looks like draft 2 at the bottom. James Gunn went ahead and teased this, as this is going to be sort of a team-up film of Lex Luthor and Superman, having to team up against a bigger threat. So we'll see what happens here. But this was, in fact, the second draft of the script turned in by James Gunn, and definitely teasing us here a little bit. But yeah, looking forward to it. People assume that because it's got the human brain on there, that maybe it's Brainiac that James Gunn is teasing. I think James Gunn said, I didn't even really think about that, but he could be,
Oh, he's yeah.
Sure, James, sure. I had no idea people would assume that that's Brainiac. Get out of here, bro. Okay.
I hope it's Brainiac just because we haven't gotten him in live action yet. And I think that while he's definitely a threat, like a big level threat, I don't think he needs to be Justice League level threat. He can be, but I think for his first like appearance, he could be a Superman level threat without the League.
Yeah, you might be right. And I expect something Luthor to do some sort of backstabbing, so maybe Luthor also is like a second antagonist in this film in some capacity too. So we'll see. We also had a bunch of trailers this week. I'm not gonna pull up the trailers because there was just so many. But shout out to John. What's up, John Stutzman? What's up, John? I don't know if this might be your first time joining us here, but thank you so much, John, for certainly coming through. Maybe you've been here before. I'm not quite sure. Look at Man of Steel book script. It looked like Brainiac. Yeah, a lot of people were definitely speculating Brainiac. And then when James Gunn dropped this, this almost felt like this confirmed Brainiac to people. But James Gunn definitely not going to let anybody know as of yet. But yeah, you're definitely right there, John. We did have a bunch of trailers. Stuart, I don't know if you had the opportunity to check out all of these. Or not, but we'll go through some of them real quick. Welcome to Derry. Dropped a brand new poster here. As you can see, new series is starting October 26th. They had themselves a new official trailer that wind up dropping here. I looked at this trailer. This is probably one of my more anticipated series for the remainder of the year that I'm really looking forward to. Andy Muschietti, who did It 1 and It Chapter 2, is coming back to do the series. I don't know if he's just going to do this season 1 or if he's going to be connected to the remainder of the series, because I have a feeling that there's going to be more seasons involved. But they did drop a brand new trailer, and Stuart, this looks so good to me, man. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to check it out. Did you?
No, not this one. I haven't.
Man, this just looks so good. I'm really excited to dive into this time period, Maine 1962, the world that they've kind of created, the mystery kind of involved in regards to more kidnapped and missing children. It looks like this might even focus on the arrival of Pennywise himself. There's a great shot in here of like an asteroid or some object coming down to Earth and hitting it and falling like right into the same hole or whatever it was that we saw from chapter 2, wherever the alien entity might be. So maybe this focuses on the arrival, maybe years before Derry, during the, whenever Pennywise kind of comes up. I have no idea, but I am really excited for Welcome to Derry. I think the trailer looked really good. If you haven't checked it out, please go ahead and do so. I think we're going to get some really great performances, especially from a lot of the kid actors in here. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. We also had a trailer for The Bride. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to check this out. This feels like Frankenstein season. We've got a Del Toro Frankenstein movie set to drop later on this year. This Bride movie doesn't come out until March of next year, though. But ever since they announced this, especially with Christian Bale being cast in here, I've had my eyes on this, and they officially dropped the trailer for this. And I gotta, dude, I am so into this movie. Did you check out this one? Did you see this one this week? We had a lot of trailers this week.
So both The Bride and Frankenstein, the new ones coming out, were playing for the movie One Battle After Another.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I saw both of them. It's kind of like how we had like a trailer like less than a year ago for both Renfield and the Demeter, like back to back, both Dracula movies in this, and we would have them play like in the same movie sometimes. Yeah, it's just funny that like now we live in this time period where it's not like the most uncommon thing for two of the same IPs to be being made at the same time, or two movies based on the same IP being made at the same time.
Yeah, this trailer was fantastic. There is very much like first off, the set designs, I love it. I love the costume designs. I love the set designs. It looks like a very beautifully filmed movie. but this just gives me like Bonnie and Clyde vibes for Frankenstein and the Bride. The idea of like purposefully killing this woman and bringing her back from the dead in order to kind of be his partner, and to kind of see where Christian Bale and Jesse Buckley as Frankenstein and the Bride sort of take their love and their adventure on the road and stuff. Like the Bonnie and Clyde vibe that I got from this, along with like, just, I don't want to say a punk, there maybe some punk, maybe some goth vibes, but I don't know. But this was a really cool trailer, and I am really excited for this one. Honestly, this might be one of my more anticipated films for 2026 when we get to that point, but I'm looking forward to this one, Stuart.
Honestly, Bonnie and Clyde wasn't the first thing that I thought of, but now that you said it, I can't unsee it. Now it's like, yes, now anytime I see this trailer, that's going to be the vibe I get.
Yeah, it's definitely what I was like, dude. They look like they're two lovers on the run, just F everything else, you know? It's kind of dope. We also had Avatar Fire and Ash dropped a brand new trailer also, about 2.5 minutes long. This movie is set to go ahead and drop later on this year. I think they're even going to go ahead and re-release The Way of Water to hype people up for this movie. I don't know if you had the opportunity to check out this trailer, but this movie legit to me feels like it could be possibly even better than The Way of Water, which I don't want to say should surprise me, but it definitely feels like The Way of Water was more like an appetizer course, and this is kind of like the main dish in regards to taking a next level in regards to the stakes that are happening. Like visually, this movie looks great, and they also gave us some more like plot details to really sink our teeth into for this movie. Also, did you see this one, Stuart?
I did, yeah.
What'd you think of it?
I thought, yeah, like it looked really cool. Still, yeah, like, I like the Avatar franchise. I wouldn't say I'm like huge into it, but yeah, I do like that we're finally kind of getting the sequels coming out more consistently. So like when James Cameron continues to hype up everything that's going to be happening, it's not like, okay, yeah, sure, 20 years later. But yeah, I think that visually looks great. I like that they seem to slowly kind of becoming like kind of being pushed into kind of a more darker realm, is like, the Earth's military is just completely relentless, so yeah.
John, 84 days left to see Avatar Fire and Ash. My friend and I will take a ride on D-Box.
Oh,
in
nice.
Cinemark.
Get
Nice.
the full 4D experience.
But I was a really big fan of this trailer. The idea of them exploring what if humans had the ability to breathe on this planet, and the notion of what that would mean for the Na'vi if humans ever got that opportunity to do that, it would be like all over for them. And then getting the opportunity to see some of the Na'vi, especially this particular Fire Clan, teaming up with whether that be the humans or the guy that the general that took over the Na'vi body, them kind of teaming up to go against Sully, the Sully family and the rest of them, is really intriguing to me, to kind of see like somebody of their culture and things like that teaming up with somebody else. It's really fascinating to me. So I'm really curious to see where this leads. Looks like we have the return also of his gigantic flying creature that we saw in the first one. They're really bringing out all the heavy hitters to help them out in this fight this time. But visually, from like the fire and the volcano ash concept, I think it's going to look great on the big screen. But another great trailer here. And then last but not least, guys, The Mandalorian and Grogu. We wind up getting oh, you know what? There was another one that I didn't even add here to honorable mentions. But The Mandalorian and Grogu dropped this brand new trailer here this week. Did you see the trailer for this one, Stuart?
I did, yes.
Yeah. I want to know, how are you feeling about this trailer? I enjoyed it for what it was, but I want to know what you think first.
I got to be honest about something with this trailer. It doesn't look bad, but there is nothing that this thing showed me that justified this going to the big screen compared to like what we've seen in The Mandalorian already. Because The Mandalorian has shown us some pretty cool stuff, some of which I actually do think would have been really cool to see on the big screen. But everything I'm seeing here just feels like it's ripped out of an episode of The Mandalorian. The only I guess kind of three exceptions. Like, yeah, Sigourney Weaver, I mean, she's done TV before, but like, I guess putting an actress like her in a movie just kind of like cements it being a movie rather than an episode a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The other two things I guess you could say is that, yeah, maybe they couldn't have pulled off the CG for Zeb and Jabba's son in The Mandalorian the way they can here. But in terms of like everything else that I've kind of seen from this, like, again, it doesn't look bad, but it looks fun. But I just don't see like how this I don't see like this doesn't feel like a movie, you know. It feels like an episode, I think. And maybe it's just because it's The Mandalorian and I've only seen him on TV, and so my brain just naturally thinks TV. I just, for some reason, I was expecting this trailer to show me something that would make me go, oh, that's why they had to tell this story on the big screen.
No, I get what you're saying there. I think I don't know if I fully agree, but I understand the mindset or why you feel that way. Like when I think about the trailer, yes, the Sigourney Weaver stuff, I'm like, okay, you know, the fact that they got a big budget, you know, or a big star like her to be in the movie, that certainly helps. I did find the release of this kind of questionable. You know, some people think that maybe Disney just released this because of the whole Jimmy Kimmel situation.
I made a
what
joke about that. Like, I'm like, oh, Disney releasing a seemingly incomplete trailer. It totally isn't just to make us forget about anything.
It kind of feels that way because this would technically be like the teaser trailer for it, because this movie doesn't come out until May of next year, so it's a really long ways away. So when I think about it that way, I can see why they maybe didn't put scenes in here that make it feel like it's worthy of a big budget movie. But there are brief moments in here where I think it does. I also think us as fans have also been a little bit spoiled in regards to Star Wars on the small screen, because they do still put a really big, heavy budget behind those television series. And so those series that do look really good probably would visually look great on the big screen. We've just gotten so used to seeing it on a smaller screen that now that it is being put on it's just like a streaming show. But it's like, no, dude, this is the budget of a big level fucking movie. Like so there's a part of me that thinks maybe that is playing a factor in it, because we've been so used to seeing Star Wars on the small screen. But I think I have a feeling that when we get to like an official trailer or an official trailer 2, that they might show maybe big, massive, maybe in space battles, or just something to visually show us like, yeah, this is certainly movie worthy. Because from a visual effects point of view, I think it looks great. Like the Zeb jumping off the wall and hitting the storm, like I don't think you get that in the television show. I think that feels like a big time movie moment for me. Even maybe some of the fight sequences you could probably get away with in the movie, but I think the AT Walker scene is going to be really appropriate for the big screen also in regards to how it's filmed. So I think it is a wait and see. I think there should be some this trail, I don't know if it necessarily did the best job. This felt very much like emergent, like pull of a case of emergency. We need a trailer to distract. That's what this kind of felt like. So maybe bad motivations on their part, but I think once we start seeing more of this as we get closer, I think they'll squash any issues that or curiosities that we might have about this movie, or at least I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that's the case.
Yeah, I definitely hope so, because I definitely do want to go into this, or I definitely want to come out of this movie having like, enjoyed it, and having like really thought like, yeah, this did feel like a movie and not an episode.
And then there was one last thing. I didn't pull up the image. I completely forgot about this, but Star Wars Visions,
Oh,
season
yes.
3 dropped a brand new trailer this week also. And I'm so hyped. Like, people talk about what good things has Disney given us as Star Wars fans, outside of the Mandalorian and outside of Andor. Star Wars Visions has got to be in the top 3 easy. I don't know if any season has missed yet. Season 3 looks like it might even potentially be better. The trailer at the end that showed the kid and his robot, and they go into like this transformation henshin sequence, and it's like an X-wing power up suit, something straight out of freaking Power Ranger. Like it looks so dope. It looked like something out of a 1980s cartoon movie as they're forming the Voltron, robot, but the kid's like, he's got like the X-wing helmet on, and then the X-wing wings come out of his backpack. I mean, it just looks so dope. So I am really excited to kind of not only get the continuation from some stories, but to get the opportunity to see some brand new characters and stories in here. But visually, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, I love the Vision series so far. Like, I love the first 2 seasons. I'm surprised they didn't stick with their original scheduling for these, because it seemed like they had a really cool pattern of one year we would get a Tales of the Jedi, Sith, or whatever, Tales of the series or season, and then the next year we would get a Vision season, and they were doing that until season 3 of Tales of the what was it, Tales of the Outlaws or something like that, or the Bounty Hunters. But yeah, they ended up kind of just releasing them both at like completely random dates. Still looking forward to this one though, of course, because yeah, it's like I think I've made this comparison before, but it reminds me of the old Star Wars comic books called Star Wars Tales, where they were kind of very much like in the lower tier of in terms of canon. Most of them were just kind of written as like, this isn't meant to actually be like in the universe of Star Wars. Some of them would be written as full-on parodies. Others would have these really cool, interesting short storylines, and that's the exact vibe I get with Star Wars Visions. Some of these shorts are really funny. Some of these shorts are incredibly intense, and half the time I'm like, man, I want this to have its own spin-off show. But yeah, it's like, as much as I love that Star Wars has an interconnected universe and how everything is all connected, I do like when we take a step out of that boundary every now and then, and we get a show like Star Wars Visions that can show certain storylines that have to be told in the Star Wars universe, but can't be told with the Star Wars continuity. So they have to kind of so they're given like this creative freedom to really go all out with some of these.
And that's kind of actually what I'm hoping that Star Wars Starfighter is like, giving Sean Levy the ability to give us something in live action that we haven't really seen in Star Wars before, that we see in things like a Star Wars Vision that really take these really big swings and really work. So again, I don't know how big of a connection Star Wars Starfighter will have with anything from what we've had from Star Wars before. But I'm kind of hoping that it's that creative freedom that he's allowed to have, but we'll see. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in regards to that, guys. And with that out of the way, that will do it for our honorable mentions portion of the show. But guys, I think it's time to get into some main topics. You ready to tackle these with me, Stuart?
Always.
And remember, guys, as we go through these topics, feel free to let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. As we're going to talk, as we go through these articles, we definitely want to hear your perspectives and points of views as well. But first and foremost, man, Peacemaker season 2 is well underway. We had episode 6 that dropped this past week. And we got 2 more episodes left, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's an 8-episode season. And to say episode 6 was a doozy, I think would be an understatement, to say the least. We got some great Superman cameos in here and a big reveal that I think was theorized by quite a few people finally coming to fruition in here. And despite the theorization, it definitely didn't it definitely didn't take away from the impact of what this episode turned out to be, Stuart. So
I would say, if anything, knowing what was going to happen, or at least having a very strong idea of what was going to happen, all that did was just have me on the edge of my seat the entire time watching this.
Yeah, this was it was pretty crazy. Again, we will talk about episode number 6 a little bit. So spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen the episode yet. We will be talking about it. So again, come back after this particular topic is over. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then we're gonna dive into some news from Peacemaker season 3 as James Gunn opens up about what the potential future is for Peacemaker, and he even discusses a little bit about this episode. But really the big reveal at the end of this, Stuart, is that the world that Peacemaker has fallen in love with, that feels like, he got robbed of, feeling that like the life that he's living in his world is like not his own, that he deserves better than, some well-deserved recognition. And he's found that in this particular universe that he's now gone over to. He's been flooded by the fame and the love of people, the idea that the person that he loves actually loves him back, sort of thing. And it's really blinded him, if you will, to everything else that's going on around him. As we get to see on our Earth, the 11th Street gang going to rescue Peacemaker from the alternate universe that he's in, only to discover there's no people of color in this world, Stuart. I love the fact that Hardcore points it out, and he's like, no way.
Yeah.
And then, like, the man is oblivious.
Yeah. The fact that was like the way he said, shrugs it off so casually. No way. And
No
then
way.
it like takes him a moment to like actually think about it, like, huh.
And come to find out, he is on Earth X, which for those of you out of the DC comics or are unaware, is very much a Nazi populated or world, if you will, Nazi ideology. And we get to see that on full display from the iconic flag that Peacemaker winds up picking up with the swastika on it. We even see his brother stop when he sees ads walking down the block, and he's like, "One got out, it's a black," or some shit like something crazy, like something crazy,
like something to imply that the like concentration camps and those kind of things are like
crazy.
All over,
It's crazy. And they start chasing her down the block. I got to tell you, man, this blew me away. How did you like this episode, man?
Oh my God, I loved it. I mean, talk about like the performances in this episode. Like the big scene that really stuck out to me was with Harcourt and with Peacemaker. The one-on-one the two of them had together, where the two of them were really like opening up with each other about their feelings, and then Harcourt like constantly trying to change the subject about how she feels, just trying to get Chris to come home, and then Chris, of course, constantly like trying to go, see, you're avoiding the subject again. Just the performance they both gave was absolutely incredible. And James Gunn, like, because one of my favorite things about the show now has become listening to the podcast right after watching an episode with James Gunn, because he goes into all these like details. And James Gunn himself was like kind of saying that this was what I saw in John Cena when I first worked with him on Suicide Squad. And he was like saying that this was his moment to finally show the world what he saw in John Cena. And yeah, I definitely see it. I think that like either one of them could easily get an Emmy for this. The episode had me cracking up with Adrian Chase because so I had a theory going into this episode where Adrian Chase's doppelganger was going to be played. I totally forgot the actor's name, but he was going to be played by a different actor, the actor that played Adrian Chase on Arrow. That was going to be my theory. And that would have been funny if he was like a completely different version of the character. But no, the fact that they're exactly the same, that had me laughing so hard, especially like, because that was like the perfect way to reveal that the Peacemaker in this world is not the same as the Peacemaker in Vigilante's world. So I love that scene. Nitpick someone brought up, and I just thought was so funny because it got me thinking way too deep into this, deeper than I'm sure James Gunn thought about it with the joke. But they when they see each other, one of the things they do is they go, Spider-Man meme, and I'm laughing so hard because that's funny, until a YouTuber brought up this one point, how does Spider-Man exist in a fascist universe? And I'm like, oh yeah, because like, you know, the big thing is that like he was written by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, who are both Jewish. So I have like a couple headcanon theories. Maybe they were ghostwriters, and you know, white supremacists just don't read, just like real life white supremacist YouTubers like Critical Drinker, Geeks and Gamers, and Neurotic. You know, they talk like they know this shit, but they clearly don't. So maybe it's the same thing on Earth X. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko are good at doing all this anti-Nazi propaganda in Spider-Man because white supremacists just don't read. They go, ooh, pretty colors. So that's my headcanon. The scene with Annabelle, though, holy crap, because the moment she's like, let's go take a walk, because I saw this twist coming, I'm like, no. I hate to say it, but you might be safer in the house with the white dragon. Do not leave.
Yeah, you know, I remember when the theory was put out there, I was thinking to myself, I was like, nah, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna do that. And then after I heard the theory, anytime that I watch the show and they're in this universe, I literally find myself scanning the extras in the background, like trying to find a black person or like just any person of color at that point in time. And the whole entire time, I don't see anyone. And I'm thinking, like, this is not an oversight. Like, if you're casting these people, this is not an oversight. Like, there's something to it. And so the fact that it's revealed that to be the case, I'm like, I cannot believe it. But it, you know, it's just crazy to me that, you know, it's James Gunn that's like bringing the awareness again and the attention again, I think, to, you know, this theme and this concept of it just being so relevant today, which is just kind of crazy to me. It just feels like it's TV we all need to watch. But there is a level of interest that I have with the fact that Chris doesn't even see any of that stuff, you know. It is that kind of idea of like, I don't see color, or like I'm colorblind, you know, to be like that oblivious to the idea that there's like nobody else around you. You know, there is a level of like privilege that I think Chris has that he is like not even aware of, that he can go through this life and just experience his life and be joyful and happy and just not realize like what the fuck is going on in the world around you. Like, right, like that's just a level of privilege that other people just don't have in this world. And I don't know if James Gunn meant to make that like a topical question or something to bring about, but when I watch that's what comes to mind for me, is the sense of like this privilege that he has that, you know, Adebayo clearly doesn't, you know, get, or anybody else, but like just also living in today's world, this how that concept can kind of play out, that like if it doesn't affect me directly, I don't pay any attention to it, sort of thing. And there's only very few people that can navigate through that world like that and not have the bigger issues of society like really impacting you, you know what I mean? And so to kind of see Peacemaker in that position is an interesting one. But you know, but then I think that it is interesting to see Chris's growth, right? I think from seasons 1, the idea that he had a very racist and abusive father, and having to overcome that aspect. And I do wonder if this is also something that Peacemaker's got to overcome, because, you know, Chris isn't racist or anything like that, but it is like a subconscious privilege that he just isn't fully aware of that he has. And so I'm hoping that there is a level of growth also to a Chris character. And, you know, when James Gunn talks about like Peacemaker being somebody that is very relatable to him, you know, James Gunn is no saint. You know, I'm sure this man has done, you know, has some questionable things in his past, but like where he's come from there to where he finds himself as a human and the self-awareness that I think he has now, I think he can kind of relate to somebody like Peacemaker in that regards. And again, we've talked about this before. When James Gunn can relate to a character, that is his best work, and I think he does his best work here on this show. And I thought this was a really fun and great episode, man.
Yeah, definitely. I think like with Chris, agree with pretty much everything like you said on that end. Like, you know, I don't think he's racist, but definitely, privileged to the point where he was able to like, live in this universe for like 2 days and not notice any of the major
Anything.
red flags, and yeah, it comes down to kind of like, the privilege that he gets from this universe and the fact that like he's given all this, it's like this universe gives so much to him. He doesn't think about what it takes away from everyone else. Man, and it made so much sense for a character like Chris for it to happen for someone like him, and I feel like, obviously they kind of show you in the episode itself, if it was anyone else, they like hardcore picks it up immediately. Yeah. So it's like one of those things where it's like, if he wasn't blinded by what he had, maybe he would have seen the signs, but it's hard to say because again, it gave so much to him that he didn't bother looking for any of the red flags.
Marcelino says Peacemaker is in the wrong because he left the people he knows for copycats that he barely knows and slept with hardcore, who doesn't know he's not.
Yeah,
no, it's pretty effed up.
That is some revenge of the nerd stuff.
yeah, it's pretty effed up. It's pretty effed up. Marcelino says that Earth X stuff reminds me a lot of Supergirl season 3 and 4 with the white supremacy and xenophobic themes. It was way ahead of its time. Unfortunately, it doesn't get the same love as Peacemaker does. Yeah, it makes me almost kind of want to revisit that that season and kind of see like look at the maybe I'll look at the themes a little bit differently than what I did, but I maybe it's something I should revisit. We also got a massive cameo as Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor pops up in here. When Rick Flag Sr. says I need to go to Belle Reve, I immediately was like, I know who's gonna be. I know exactly who's gonna be. And so it was really cool to kind of see that he's clearly getting help from Lex Luthor in regards to trying to pinpoint where these I'm gonna say these portals are certainly opening up in exchange to moving him to another prison that's a little bit more comfortable, if you will. So this is a movement of Lex Luthor's character as to where we'll probably see him when it comes to Man of Tomorrow. But a really cool cameo, I thought, Stu.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. I love it when you take characters from like properties that are usually PG-13 and then you put them in an R-rated property and suddenly they're allowed to be a little bit like more raunchier than they would have been. Because yeah, you would have never heard Lex Luthor and Superman say butt fucking, but like of course in Peacemaker they use terms like that all the time. So it's like, yeah, say whatever you want. Just so I loved I do love that like looking at him now, he feels like almost a different Lex, and I think that was like on purpose because this is a Lex who's now like pissed off and this is a Lex who's like basically lost. And so I really love that whole scene with him and Rick Flags, the fact that he's just like, just skip to the higher software and stop wasting my time.
I am curious. Dang, I lost my train of thought. Oh, you know what it was? Rick Flag Sr.
Mm-hmm.
I am interested in him in regards to his character because I find it weird and kind of cringy, if I could be honest with you. The fact that he wants hardcore to call him Rick all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I first saw it in a couple of episodes prior, I'm like, it's kind of creepy, bro. Like it's one of those things where like Rick is like, if you want somebody to call you Rick, like there's clearly like clearly a different position of power here. So the idea of her calling her general or sir, like that's perfectly common. And at first when he says call me Rick, a part of me was like, okay, like maybe he just views her as like part of the family because she dated her son. But the fact, she dated his son. But the fact that he then continued to be so insistent upon it really started like, I got a major red flag by it. And then when he starts talking to Sasha Bardo in this episode, and he says the same thing in regards to like, call me Rick, and like they start really getting close, like it just puts into perspective the whole Amelia Harcourt and having like, dude, she dated your son, bro. Like, why are you like
this is the same dude that slept with the princess. He was assigned to protect,
right? And when I think about like just his personality traits and how like of a womanizer that he is, or that he pretends not to, like he tried to put up a fight with the princess or play this hard to get game, and it got him exactly where he wanted to get. But the fact of seeing his personality traits come out in this way, it's like, dude, you're kind of messed up too. This is, but yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like the moment I saw him, like, I mean, obviously I should have known this from the first episode, the fact that he was going after Peacemaker for revenge and nothing else. But like the moment I see him, like, you know, basically telling Sasha Bourdon the same thing that he told Hardcourt, and that is, call me Rick. I'm like, this guy should not be the head of Argus.
No.
Like I assume,
where's
like,
the HR department when you need it?
Like I assume there's no way this was Amanda Waller's idea, was to assign him. Like I don't.
It might
like,
have been. It might have been.
Like maybe she wanted him to fuck up so that way the U.S. government would be like, oh no, actually, Amanda Waller, can we have you back? Like maybe that was her goal. That's
maybe. But yeah, the Rick Flag stuff is interesting to me, and it's always made me feel cringy. And so the fact that they are highlighting how yeah, it's just the fact that they're pointing it out like that. It's like, yeah, I can. He's pretty fucked up. But yeah, other than that, man, great episode. I'm sure there's more to talk about it. I don't want to take up too much time. But the idea of like, look, we got 2 more episodes left. James Gunn did talk a little bit about, oops, sorry, Stuart, where'd you go? There we go.
Question. There I am.
Let me pull up this article here. This is from James Gunn explaining the major twist. Oh, and he does talk a little bit about GI Robot also, which I thought was interesting.
I would love to spend time in that universe with GI Robot, as long as you give me something. As long as you give me a weapon, of course.
Where did you first get the idea to bring Earth X into the from the comics into season 2? He says, honestly, God, it's not from the comics. It's from Philip K. Dick's Man in the High Castle, which is a book I've always really liked. I'm a huge Phil K. Dick fan, and that was the first book of his I ever read. It's about an alternate Earth where the Nazis won World War II, and that was more of what inspired me for this. It just seems to be a natural outcome of Chris dealing with his personal journey. He goes and he gets everything he desires, but it is a monkey's paw, because there's a lot of things about this place that are, you know, even though people think he went to our Earth, it really is worse than our Earth. He's finding out the complexities of all of it. Everybody thinks that means everybody there is a Nazi, everybody there is bad, but you find out things are not that simple in the next episode.
That's very sorry, real quick. That's very Alan Moore-esque in how to write like kind of those kind of characters, because one thing that Alan Moore always tries to make sure he does whenever he writes like fascists and anarchists is that he always tries to make sure that, like, well, yeah, he definitely shows the worst of it. He also shows just like kind of your everyday people, like people who are brainwashed, like Cyril, who like, you know, if you met like just like, you know, out on the streets, you wouldn't probably get fascists, you wouldn't get like that they were fascists just from, you know, having a conversation with them, because they come off as like normal people, and that's very much how Alan Moore likes to write like his characters. And I feel like that's probably something with James Gunn, of course, even mentioning that he's an Alan Moore fan at one point. I feel like that would be something that he probably took from Alan Moore as well.
Yeah, some people just sleepwalk through fascism, you know, which is kind of crazy. Were you inspired by any real events to introduce Nazis in this season? He says, well, I can't say for sure. Obviously, there's more neo-Nazi white supremacists in the forefront of our culture, more so than in the past. So definitely that's probably some sort of effect upon me, but I don't think of it like that. I really do come from a place of storytelling and what Christopher Smith's journey is at the end of the day, despite all of this big stuff. And I know Adebayo is in a lot of danger at the end of the episode. The core of the show is really the scene between Hardcore and Peacemaker. It's about these characters and their relationships to each other and what it is their destiny as a group of friends. To me, that's the core of the season, and what are the lessons that Peacemaker has to learn about himself going through this very effed up journey. And I think so too. You know, I think also, I think somebody might have said in the, you know, that Marcelino might have said, like, you know, Peacemaker is pretty messed up and wrong at the end of the day for some of his actions in this episode, you know, but I also do think it's that idea of, you know, sense of loneliness, you know, sense of, you know, your life not going the way that you wanted to, and what's the best way to escape, right? Like for some people in Chris's position, you know, for some people that's suicide,
Mhm.
Whereas for Chris, though, this is an opportunity for him to go to another world where he is kind of loved. And how do you deal with that stuff, right? Like when times are hard, when things don't go your way, when the love of your life isn't there, or people aren't appreciating you the way that you want to. How do you respond to that? Do you run away from that? Do you face it head on and find things to do to make your situations better or life better for yourself, or do you give in to the pressures and what people are saying about you, sort of mentality? So the idea of seeing him having to navigate this, I think, is going to be pretty interesting. um Let's see here. I can't even imagine. Does this twist mean we'll get to see GI Robot in live action? He says the answer to that question, which this is going to be all anybody talks about from this interview, is yes. But not necessarily when you think you're going to see him. So not necessarily in Peacemaker season 2. I think this is, first off, let me just say, I do think that this is a missed opportunity to have him come up in Peacemaker season 2. Because if I'm anybody on the 11th Street gang, especially those connected to Argus, like, where's Economos? Like, Economos has got to know about GI Robot somewhere in the vault. Like, let's go back, break into Argus. Let's get GI Robot out to help us out in this situation. But I think the fact that he confirms, yes, we will see GI Robot, Stuart. If Sergeant Rock movie is a thing, book it. Book it. GI Robot will be popping up in Sergeant Rock, I think, first, if that movie still happens. I don't know where else it would possibly pop up in, but I got to assume it's Sergeant Rock. But that's just my assumption.
I think that would be so perfect, and it would be a great way to like get Sergeant, because like there's plenty of people that love GI Robot, but I feel like if anything could get GI Robot into the mainstream, it's probably Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, he says, how did Lex's surprise cameo come about? He says, Nick's a big fan of the show. Everything's connected. So there is a story that we're telling throughout the DCU, and this is connected very much to Man of Tomorrow. There's story elements that we're telling that are mostly just about this season of television. The Justice League isn't going to go to Earth X next year and stomp out evil. That's about Chris Smith's journey in season 2, but there are other elements. A part of that is the relationship between Rick Flag and Lex Luthor. And that's an important thing going forward in the DCU and Man of Tomorrow and so on. So it does look like Frank Grillo has got his wish and is going to continue to get more work as Rick Flag. So he was a part of the series from the beginning. He was really excited about it, and it was just really fun directing him. But yeah, I think there's also an article that talked about them being on the same set together, or they were filming around the same time. So they had like 1 or 2 days where they were all filming together. So they were able to have people kind of come onto each other's set and kind of work around that way.
Efficient.
And then, what'd you say?
Oh, I just said efficient.
Yeah, very efficient. And then what does the future hold for Peacemaker season 2, along with some DCU updates for you guys today? This is from Deadline. James Gunn teases some Peacemaker characters will continue in another DC series. It's not exactly Peacemaker 3. After the pivotal episode 6 of Peacemaker, which bridged the series to the Superman movie, Man of Tomorrow, we caught up with James Gunn. Essentially, in short, there's not a season 3 of Peacemaker. He says you're going to find out more in episode 8 because it's not necessarily that, responded Gunn to our query about another season of Peacemaker. Some of these characters will continue, but also it's not exactly Peacemaker 3. I'm not ruling it out. You'll see episode 8, and maybe you'll find out a little bit more.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. He says for some time, Gunn was planning a Peacemaker spinoff based off of Amanda Waller. Development on this series has been a slow go, but he hasn't. We have to remember he has not stopped the development of Waller. Waller is still very much a thing. So I am curious if that's the direction that he's teasing, or if somebody pops up in like the Lantern series, because I think that's the only other series that we have announced as of right now that I could possibly see them in. So maybe Lanterns and Waller would be the next step.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's Waller because yeah, I know that like he wasn't really happy with or I don't know actually. I could be making stuff up, so I'm gonna take that back just in case. I just, yeah, for one reason or another, the production got delayed. I'm not sure if it was because he didn't like the original like scripts that were given to him. But I hope it's just put on the back burner. It's not like completely canceled because I feel like, yeah, a show based on Amanda Waller just has a lot of potential.
He also says the series creator and director tells us whatever Augie is in this world, he's kinder to his children. That is true. We'll find out more about Augie in the next episode, which he explains has a terrific performance by Robert Patrick, which should be interesting because if we remember, Economos tells him in this episode that his son is dead. That Peacemaker killed his son, I believe, right? And like replaced him or something like that. So I think this is the first time that he's hearing about it. So when he says a performance, I'm excited to kind of see what Robert Patrick's going to do.
It's so funny because like throughout most of the season, I'm loving John Economos because like he's just like on fire with his dialogue. His witty dialogue is just great. And then like every time he does the right thing, he constantly just like says, "It's only because you're pressuring me to it." So it's like so funny because I'm just kind of like, John, you're your own worst enemy. You're doing great, man. You know, don't stop talking down to yourself. And then this scene happens, and I'm like, God damn it, John.
Yeah. Yeah. Like loose lips, man. Loose lips. By the way that Rick Flag Sr. gets Lex Luthor to a better jail scene was always part of Gunn's plan for season 2, even before the Nazi world was. He says, when I pitched to DC what the basic stories were throughout the TV shows and movies, this was a part of that, says the Superman filmmaker about that specific scene. Gunn says that when it came to Superman crossover characters, in season 2, he shot those actors over a couple of Saturdays during the feature production. The scene with the new Justice League members was shot on one Saturday, while on the second Saturday, he filmed Frank Grillo and Nicholas Holt's prison scene. In addition to another Superman crossover character we'll see in episode 8. So we're going to get another Superman character. As to who that could potentially be, I don't know. We got 2 more episodes left. We'll definitely find out.
I have a feeling it'll be either Otis or the other tech guy, the one with the mustache, with the glasses. Wait, did he have a mustache? So? He had glasses. I think it'll be either of them because I think like the way they kind of end things, it seems like Lex Luthor is going to tell Frank Guerrero to seek out one of them, that they have the technology that they need to trace the portal.
Maybe it's the engineer. I wonder if the engineer will pop up in here.
Ooh, that would be cool.
We haven't seen her. And that would be a big time Superman character to see where she pops up in. So because I definitely don't think she's a character that's done with yet.
No, definitely not.
So maybe the engineer pops up. We'll see. Speaking of which, it says we also asked Gunn for an update on the Authority movie. At the DC press conference back in February, he mentioned that the anti-hero IP was the hardest one to crack. This is what he says. He says it's one that got messed up with through all the other things that were happening. The script had a harder time coming along. He says that the Authority is not kaput, though, that there's someone who is a really good creator who talked to me the other day, he said. So that means series, right? And Gunn says, who knows? I'm probably not going to do certain movies with characters who audiences don't know. It's harder to get people in the theater for that kind of thing. I do think that there's some truth to that, but this is also the same guy that did Guardians of the Galaxy that nobody knew about, and he created an entire trilogy that people love of. So maybe it's the idea of like starting off so new. Maybe you want to hold off on some of those characters that audiences don't know for later on. Like a Sergeant Rock to me feels like it's that kind of feels in that vein of things. So I don't know. I am kind of curious as to what he means. I mean, it makes sense, especially in the time period where the box office these days are really hard to kind of make any money. So you definitely want to utilize characters that are recognizable in order to get people into seats. This does make me question his point of, is Sergeant Rock still happening? Is it not? Is the Authority going to go from series to movie? We'll definitely have to see. It just definitely feels up in the air for James Gunn right now, but Authority is still kicking. It's still alive.
Yeah, that's weird just because like it seemed like when James Gunn was making all the announcements, he was like announcing projects that were based on characters that no one knew who they were. Creature Commandos, the Authority, and of course, and then God, what were the other ones? I mean, like even to an extent, I don't think that like outside the comic book community, Booster Gold is that well known. But like that was also one of the announcements that he made. So I don't know. That's weird for me to hear him say that he doesn't know about the Authorities in theaters because it's not a known IP. Because it's like, yeah, like you said, you're the dude that created Guardians of the Galaxy. No one who knew who they were, apart from comic book fans, before you made the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And now they're, one of the most popular teams in comic book movies.
Yeah, I mean, he does say who knows, so it does feel like it's up in the air. Like, I can see the Authority coming out after a couple years that DC has kind of established itself. Like, after we get a Clayface and a Batman and maybe even a Wonder Woman, like when you've established the trust in the general audience in regards to like we're putting out high quality stuff, then boom, hit us with the Authority. Like, I don't know these characters, but it is coming from the DCU, so I'm going to give it a shot. I think maybe gain the trust first, and then pull the trigger. Yeah, Marcelino says it won't be the engineer because I saw the preview and it showed the secret Superman cameo was a guy. So we'll see. He did send me also a link. I forgot to pull up the link to talk about it, but he says, yeah, also the engineer was recently confirmed to be returning in Man of Tomorrow. So they will be returning. Shout out to Tony Robinson, certainly coming through. Thank you very much, Tony. I think James Gunn should make the Authority a show so he has more time to flesh out the scripts and see what's having trouble with it. I am curious as to who this creator that he's talking about, that he's brought on board clearly to kind of maybe work and flesh some things out. So maybe we'll see. I like, especially with all those characters, I think a series could work too. Just because you do, like he said, you do have the opportunity to kind of flesh those things out if you want to a little bit. So I wouldn't be opposed to whatever direction that is he certainly wants to go.
And plus, like, definitely correct me if I'm wrong because I've never read The Authority. But from what
I
I
haven't
hear,
either.
okay. So, but yeah, comments correct us if I'm wrong because neither of us have read The Authority. But from what I understand, they're kind of like the CIA of superheroes in the sense that they do shit like off books and they do it like without basically under the radar, so like no one knows about it. They're kind of like covert, and what they do isn't necessarily legal, but they do it for what they consider the greater good. And I feel like if you can't make a movie out of that, there's a procedural drama right there. Like that is the perfect setup for like a procedural drama, like like actual CIA procedural drama shows, except for instead of like just everyday people, it's superheroes basically. So I feel like, yeah, if you can't make a movie, turn that into a show. You got something you can work with there. I think that given the right writers, you can make something really fun.
Yeah, I think so too. But we'll keep you guys posted on all developments when it comes to the DCU. But yeah, that will do it for our Peacemaker season 2 and season 3 discussion, guys. So let us know your thoughts in the comments section, what you guys thought about some of the things James Gunn had to say. From the DCU to the MCU, baby. We've got Avengers Doomsday in the news here this week. Well, maybe not necessarily the movie itself, but talking a little bit about the man himself, Robert Downey Jr. As wrapped. The film has wrapped. Avengers Doomsday has officially wrapped. I believe they had themselves a wrap party already. I don't know how many weeks they're going to wait or how many months they're going to wait before they start filming for something like Avengers Secret Wars or not. I got to assume the turnaround is going to be relatively quick for the most part, but we'll definitely see. The reason why we're talking about Robert Downey Jr. this week as Doomsday is because a familiar face from the world of Iron Man when it comes to the MCU, not Jon Favreau, but the director of Iron Man 3, Shane Black, had the opportunity to sit down with comicbook.com and talk about his anticipation for seeing Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. I don't know if this guy has had the opportunity to see like um some of the dailies or some of the footage, or maybe he's seen the performance of Robert Downey Jr. I'm not quite sure. But if there's anybody that has all the faith in the world as to what Robert Downey Jr. is going to do as Doctor Doom, it's definitely Shane Black. Let's go ahead and talk about this, Stuart, in regards to what he says and what he thinks the impact is going to be um, for this movie. So this is Iron Man director believes RDJ's Doctor Doom will save comic book movies. We'll see if that holds up or not. But let's dive into this. Speaking with comicbook.com for his upcoming film Play Dirty, we asked Shane Black his thoughts about Downey taking on the role of Avengers Doomsday. Black has had a long collaboration with Downey Jr. since working with him back in 2005's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang before going on to write and direct Iron Man 3. The filmmaker also has a history of being a major comic book fan, so he certainly has thoughts about what it could mean. He says, I think he's going to single-handedly reinvigorate the entire comic book movie industry with that. I mean, it seems like it's like at first a cynical idea, you know? Oh, let's just go back to the well of the one guy that seems to always save us. But it's going to work. It's really going to work, and he's brought to it. I'm not at liberty to say anything, not that I know. I'm thrilled because I'm first in line to see that. I haven't seen all the Marvel movies. I'll see that one first. Black's point, many took the same position when Downey's casting was first announced. Marvel has been in a very public slump. This has not only forced Marvel Studios to reconsider their large strategies, but eventually shifting to Avengers plans into what we know is on the way. So he believes, Stuart, he's going to single-handedly reinvigorate the entire comic book movie industry to that. That while at first it seems like a cynical idea of, oh, we're just going back to the well of the guy that always saves us, but he truly believes that this is going to work. I definitely want to know your thoughts. How are you feeling about this? I think just the idea alone of like, how just as a reminder to some people, how did you feel about the announcement of RDJ? And when you hear Shane Black, that has a close relationship with RDJ, when he talks about it, do you think it's possible? What he said is could play out that way. How do you feel?
Okay, so I will say this from the title of the article. I don't want to say it's fully misleading, but it led me to believe that he was saying that, like, in general, like, comic book movies are like needing to be saved, which that's kind of something I don't necessarily agree with at this point. I think that, like, if anything, this last year has proven that they're still relevant. You know, they just actually have to be good, you know, for people to want to go see them. You have to give people a reason. Yeah. So I think comic book movies are doing just fine. But in terms of what he's saying about Robert Downey Jr., okay, so I don't know, because like part of me was kind of excited when he was hyping this up, but then it sounds like he hasn't seen that much of it. He's only seen like a small bit of it, and he's really basing this off all on his own personal experience with working with Robert Downey Jr. So, you know, while I definitely trust that, like he definitely, well, I definitely believe him when he says that he believes that Robert Downey Jr. is going to give like this amazing performance that will change everything. I don't know if I myself believe it. I believe that he believes it. I personally just think it's going to be another really good performance that we get from him. You know, as of now, I haven't really like, I do think that it's cool that he acknowledges though what like a lot of other people were thinking, which is the idea that, you know, clearly Disney just wanted to hire Robert Downey Jr. because he puts butts in seats. But yeah, that being said, while I still do strongly believe that's the reason, I do think that, yes, we are going to get a great performance out of RDJ. I don't think it's going to change the way people think about comic book movies. I think the way people think about comic book movies will remain the same. And as for the comic book movie industry itself, I think that, yeah, it won't, I don't think it'll change for the better or the worse, no matter what kind of performance that he gives. If he gives a bad performance, I don't think the comic book industry is going to suffer. If he gives this amazing Oscar-worthy performance, like, yeah, it'll get more people talking about it and maybe more people intrigued for the next Marvel movie, specifically the next Avengers movie. But I don't think it'll change how people think about like the comic book movies as I don't know if that's considered a genre or not, but like, yeah, comic book movies as a whole. I don't think it's going to change that. But I say this a lot. I love being proven wrong when I'm being pessimistic. So in this particular case, if I'm wrong, that'd be kind of awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll change the comic book movie industry or like the views on it. I do think it'll change the perception of the MCU though, in regards to reinvigorating it and getting people hyped. Because I do think James Gunn is doing something with the DCU that is kind of refreshing, and I think bringing people's attention back to comic book movies. And I can't ignore what Thunderbolts along with Fantastic Four has done this year in regards to a lot of positive momentum for Marvel Studios. So when he says something like this kind of feels more, maybe not necessarily the comic book industry, but probably how people view Marvel Studio movies kind of going forward. Because I do think Avengers Doomsday and Secret War is going to be really important in regards to building up the hype for even wanting to stick around for whatever the next saga might be. And in order to do that, despite how phases 4, 5 have kind of turned out, 6 has been really solid so far. If you can end on a really good note, you could probably win some of the fan base back in regards to building up that anticipation for whatever the next saga certainly might be. So I do think there's a lot riding on RDJ's performance in here. Maybe not. I mean, maybe in regards to if it does that, to then have Marvel Studios reinvigorated and the fan base back and highly anticipating what they drop, and then also having DC Studios running at full blast with a lot of anticipation. I mean, maybe that in turn does change the dynamic and the landscape of comic book movies, that you now have two big sort of comic book properties out there, and Marvel and DC, that are putting out sort of great content. Whereas right now it feels like DC is kind of catching that wave of momentum, and Marvel Studios is kind of licking its wounds and trying to get back to that. So if RDJ can pull this off, I don't necessarily know if Shane's wrong in his regards, but it may have implications on the comic book movies. But I think definitely Marvel Studios as a whole. Going off of what he says, though, I do find it interesting here. There's a part of me that thinks Shane Black has seen something, because it almost feels like as he's going through this interview, he has to kind of stop himself in regards to figuring out what he wants to say without saying too much so that Marvel doesn't come after him. He says, but it's going to work. It's really going to work. And he's brought to it in a sense of like what RDJ's performance is going to be, what he's brought to the character. He says, and he's brought to it. I'm not at liberty yet to say anything. Like I can't say anything. Not that I know. But I'm thrilled because I'm first in line to see that. So like, is he going to be the first person in line to see that? Or is he some of the first people that have been able to already see what RDJ has kind of done? And now he's like, I haven't seen all the Marvel movies, but I'll see this one first though. I think Shane has seen something, and I don't think he necessarily wants to give it away. And granted, yes, it could be the case of like, hey, we're best buds, and I know anything that Robert Downey Jr. touches, that he's going to be great in it. But there is something about him being so adamant about what this is going to do, and even suggesting that he knows what RDJ is going to bring to the Doctor Doom character without going and then retracting some of his comments. Like, I think he's definitely seen something. And when you have somebody that's coming off of an Oscar-winning performance in Oppenheimer, what RDJ was able to do for Iron Man in regards to kicking off an entire Marvel Cinematic Universe with his pitch perfect performance of, like, if there's anybody that can play Tony Stark, it's that dude. I have a feeling that he will do that also. Like, he is going to put 100% of himself to clearly make this character be memorable. And if there's anybody in Hollywood that can do that, it is RDJ. Like, I know some people think that RDJ's bring him back is the idea of like, it's just a money grab. I just think it's just so much more than that. And I don't think RDJ would come back unless he had something that he could really sink his teeth into. And so I do think while this may come across one way, I think RDJ is going to prove that no, it's never been that way the entire time. That this is, I'm truly going to give my best effort here and give you guys something that's going to be really, really memorable. So I believe Shane Black to a certain degree here. I think we're going to get a great performance out of RDJ for sure. A memorable one.
I think at the very least, yeah, like even though I brought up the whole, like, if he did like a bad performance and wouldn't change anything, I should probably specify that I do not think he's going to give a bad performance. Like, that would be a huge shocker to me. So I do think that regardless of, whatever reason they decide to go with Robert Downey Jr. to come back and this time play Doctor Doom, I think he's going to give a great performance. And that's probably going to be the number one thing that I look forward to about this.
Yeah, there's a part of me that just, I don't know. I want to be proven wrong. I'm hoping that I'm right in the regards that, like, you only bring them back if you got a great story that you want to tell that will in turn also connect with the bigger overall theme of the impact that Tony Stark has had in this MCU, and really had fun kind of playing that up a little bit. And if they can find a really great and smart sort of script that might be asking for a lot when it comes to the Russos. But again, I think it's important to understand it's not just the Russos writing this. They have like one or two other writers on board that have come back from previous MCU stuff that they've kind of done. So they've shown that they can make really quality scripts. We'll see how this kind of comes together, though, despite the fact that people have said they're still writing the script on set as they're filming. And look, they may look at their dailies, they may look at some of the stuff as they're going through post-production and maybe add more to the script or add new scenes, things that they want to catch up on when it comes to reshoots, that they can kind of fill in the blanks or get better performances out of people, sort of thing. So to be able to take a step back and see what you need and then kind of go back to film some more, maybe gives them opportunity to kind of flesh out that script a little bit more also. So I'm not going to sleep on Avengers Doomsday. I'm really excited for it, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm trying to be optimistic about it for sure. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What were you going to say, Stuart?
Just same in general. Like, even though I have some like things, even though I may sound like negative when I talk about like the reasoning for bringing RDJ back, I still do remain that, like, a cash grab doesn't always have to be like a bad thing.
Bad thing.
It's always just about execution. So like,
exactly.
It's going to depend on the script. And again, I think regardless, he's going to give a good performance. So,
Yeah, one of the things that we said before when people say like, oh, it feels really desperate. Like, this feels like a Hail Mary call. I mean, I watch football and sports all the time. Hail Marys work. Not all the time, but they work sometimes, right? And so, it could be absolutely a Hail Mary, but if they do this the right way, it could pay off for them.
Yeah,
so
every now and then you got to go for that 2-point conversion instead of the easy PAT, and sometimes that makes for a more interesting game.
Yeah, it really does, though. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to what Shane Black has to say in regards to RDJ. All right. With that out of the way, guys, let's move over to our next topic. We will. This isn't going to be the MCU, but more Marvel animation. as we've got X-Men 97 in the news. We're all highly anticipating season 2. I do believe season 2 has had some rewrites. For those of you who recall, the previous showrunner, Bo DeMayo, wind up getting let go from Marvel Animation after his X-Men 97 season 1. He had previously mentioned the idea that season 2 was already written and ready to go, and that they were going to be leading into a season 3. But then we wind up getting confirmation that they were, in fact, rewriting some of season 2. How much of an overall they had as they brought in a brand new showrunner for season 3, and in turn deciding to rewrite some of season 2. How much is going to be changed, we'll definitely have to see. But one of the stars of X-Men 97 is coming out to talk about the upcoming season and tease us a little bit in regards to what we can get. And Stuart, according to them, it's very dark. And apparently, look, if you had to have your tissues out for the death of Gambit in season 1, keep those tissues out, because apparently a lot of people die in this next season of X-Men 97. What that's going to mean for our characters, we'll have to see. But let's go ahead and dive into this. Here we go. It says, fans were certainly disappointed when X-Men 97 wasn't on the 2025 release date, but we've since received official confirmation that season 2 will be released sometime next year. Collider's Maggie Lovett recently moderated a Walking Dead panel for Cooper Andrews and Ross Marquand at the Fan X Salt Lake Comic Convention, where she had a chance to ask Marquand if he could tease anything about season 2. He kindly obliged, confirming that the second season is very dark. He continued, I play Apocalypse next season too, so there's a lot of scenes for myself as Apocalypse. I'm dressed in rags, which is kind of weird, but yeah. Marquand didn't stop there. He further dove into the dark nature of season 2, saying that he's amazed Disney greenlit it because it's so dark. It's very, very dark. A lot of people die, and so many people don't talk about it. Just being honest. Marquand is the latest in the long lines of stars to give an X-Men season 2 update, but the first confirmed the death of a lot of characters. Again, there's no plans on stopping with season 2. I believe Brad Winderbaum has talked about the idea that when it comes to animated seasons, he definitely wants to drop them on a yearly basis. So if season 2 drops in 2026, definitely expect season 3 in 2027. But I'm fascinated by this one. First off, yes, please. I'm completely cool with darker. More characters dying. Yes, please. Keep the stakes high. I am kind of curious as to which characters are going to die. If you guys remember from the end of X-Men 97 season 1, there is some time displacement among our X-Men teams. Some of our teams find themselves like in the very far past, possibly getting the opportunity to be introduced to Apocalypse at a very early age. And I think there's a present day where some have been stuck or left behind, and I think there's even like a future version, correct me if I'm mistaken, like a group of team stuck in the future. Maybe they'll see a Apocalypse of that time also. I don't know, it just seems like Apocalypse is going to be very heavy in season 2, so it does make me curious, like when a lot of people die, are we talking like main characters, or are we talking like our characters that are just like in those time periods? So like are we talking about like during the Egyptian times? Are we just talking about like if there are mutants during that time, will those people die, but maybe not our X-Men team? If we're in the future, are there like future versions of these X-Men characters that we know that they'll die, but maybe won't have like a big impact on our actual official team? Because the idea that they already killed off Gambit, which I believe we're going to get a return of Gambit in here thanks to Apocalypse. Are there any other big names that are going to be taken away from this team? I wouldn't surprise me if maybe like 1 or 2 more are taken out. But when he says a lot of people are going to die, to me, I can't possibly see it be the true X-Men team, but maybe like past or future versions of those characters in regards to kind of being taken out. But I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Stuart, in there in regards to like, is there a future team? I can't remember from the season 1 finale. But I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this. I think they can have a lot of fun with this. You know, I've always really wanted Age of Apocalypse storyline, whether that be animated or live action, to be very prevalent. And so I'm kind of hoping that that might be the direction that we're kind of going in here or not. But regardless, I like kind of like what I'm hearing, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember if there was like a team set in the future. I remember like several different timelines. I remember one in the far past during the Egyptian times where we get introduced to
Yeah, I remember that
Apocalypse.
scene.
I think there was another timeline. I cannot remember what it was though. But then, of course, yeah, there were some that were left in the present. But yeah, I think that's the main thing that I'm very curious about too. Is like the characters who die off. Are these characters that we know, or do they mean like in kind of the perspective of when they bombed? Oh God, what's the name of it? The mutant
Genosha?
Genosha, thank you. Yeah, when they bombed Genosha, and there was a high body count, a really high one, but it was with characters that we didn't know anywhere near as well. I mean, yes, we lost some characters that we knew, of course, like Gambit, but there were also like a lot of deaths in that episode, but they were all like, you know, faces that weren't really known to us. So I'm wondering if that's what they mean in season 2 in terms of the many deaths, or if we're going to lose more than one main character. Either way, you know, it is on the one hand, I'm glad to know that they're not, you know, watering it down after the first season, after, you know, firing their showrunner. They still seem to want to keep the intense tone that he went with from that first season going. On the other hand, though, my concern, and I want to emphasize this is a concern, not a complaint. I just hope this doesn't turn into Disney, you know, trying to recapture the dark tone of season 1, but not understanding why that dark tone works so well. And so, you know, I just don't want to turn into this thing where it's like we're being dark and edgy for the sake of being dark and edgy. You know, I don't want it to turn into Titans, in other words, you know, the HBO Max series.
Right.
But I still, that is we're a little ways away, so I don't necessarily have any reason to think that's the direction they're going in with this show. Yeah, but it is, as of now, I think I'm a little more excited than anything else, just because yeah, I do like that they're keeping up you know, the intensity of that first season. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, of course.
I you know, the showrunner for this, I believe, is Brian Andrews, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say he just worked on the What If series. I want to say he also did he do Marvel Zombies? Yeah, he also did the story for Marvel Zombies. So if we are talking about anybody that can go dark, it's definitely Brian Andrews. What the quality of that is going to be after some of the rewrites and stuff, that I'm not sure. But we'll definitely see if he can keep that momentum from Marvel Zombies. Because if anything, I would agree with you in the sense of I hope it's not going dark just to go dark. What I loved about what Bo DeMayo did was he gave really fascinating character arcs for a lot of our characters and really thought-provoking like storylines. And so the idea that they now are bringing somebody else in to rewrite season 2, it just I just hope that they understand the characters well enough in order to get well-intentioned storylines and storylines that will make us critically think in regards to the character journeys that we're certainly on. So we'll see what the quality of season 2 is definitely going to be like. Marcelino does update us at the end of season 1. Jean Grey and Scott got stuck in the future where they met teenager Cable, while Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Magneto, and Charles got stuck in the past. Yeah, I think maybe one of those X-Men that are stuck, maybe one of those X-Men stuck in the past might bite the dirt. I wonder if Nightcrawler might be on the chopping block here. I'm not quite sure who's gonna make it out of here alive. Maybe it's Rogue to join her beloved Gambit in that regards. I have no idea. Maybe it'll be something really like a Romeo and Juliet, something kind of sweet yet, you know, kind of crazy. We'll see what happens there.
I wonder if Magneto and Charles have a debate with themselves on whether they should pull I don't know if this is what the term is called, but pull baby Hitler. In other words, kill Apocalypse before he has
Apocalypse.
the chance to become Apocalypse. Just like how everyone talks about, if they could kill baby Hitler, would they? Would they kill teenage Apocalypse if they could?
It does, yeah, it does make me wonder, like, if I wonder who would have that. I feel like that's a very Magneto thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I feel like Magneto wouldn't hesitate. Like, I
No.
mean, like, yeah, Apocalypse is a mutant, so I could see him being like, well, he's one of us, but he also has killed a lot of mutants too in the future. So I could see Magneto using that to justify killing him immediately before he becomes a threat. And then Charles, of course, not being down with that at all. He hasn't done anything wrong yet. And it's like, and having Magneto being like, emphasis on yet.
Ram Jim says, I would like to see Alex Summers Havoc appear in X-Men 97. Yeah, I would too. That'd be pretty dope. Yeah, give me a Havoc and did we see Polaris? Was Polaris in season 1? I don't think Polaris. I don't think Polaris popped up in season 1. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to X-Men 97 being teased as very dark and many will die. Who do you think is on the chopping block this season? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, Stuart, we're going to move away from the MCU and the DCU a little bit and dive into more movie and television side of things. Look, one of the biggest transitions that we've had this year alone is the franchise and the IP of 007 James Bond. A lot has happened with this IP. Amazon MGM wind up picking up the rights to the James Bond franchise. The former owners of the franchise, the Broccoli family, have kind of given up all types of creative control, if you will, at Amazon MGM, from picking up, the next director and casting, whatever the case may be. So Amazon MGM has acquired a lot of power for a lot of money, mind you, this year to acquire the IP. And we've already come to find out who's going to be shepherding in the new James Bond era, and that's going to be none other than Denis Villeneuve, most notably known for his work recently on a lot of things like the Doom trilogy, the Doom franchise, also Blade Runner, and things like that. But he's in the news this week because really the big question is not only when are we going to get new James Bond content, but who's potentially going to be playing the new James Bond. And Denis Villeneuve shared some of his thoughts as to when a lot of that stuff is going to happen. So let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart. This comes to us from Deadline.com. Denis Villeneuve to start casting for an unknown actor for a Bond 26 when he completes Dune Part 3. So he's going to try and get Dune out of the way first before he dives into this franchise exclusive. Denis Villeneuve will embark on the search for an actor to play the world's most famous fictional spy, James Bond, next year when he completes production on Dune Part 3. Those familiar with the matter tell us that the director and his collaborators are seeking a fresh face to take on the 007 mantle in Bond 2026. Also, James Bond, will be male, as written by creator Ian Fleming, and more importantly, will be an actor who hails from the British Isles. So again, for those of you who missed it, there were a lot of speculation and rumors and some worry for people that they were going to make James Bond into a woman, Jamila Bond. I have no idea what route that they were going to go, but that's not happening. James Bond will continue to be a male, looking for a fresh-faced Brit. That rules out fanciful speculation that the likes of Timothy Chalamet, Glenn Powell, Austin Butler, Jacob Elordi, and others who don't hail from the UK shores are in the running. Frankly, 99% of the names we've heard speculated so far won't make the cut. Those in the know tell us that the ideal approach is to cast an unknown, possibly in his late 20s or early 30s, to play what Fleming called a blunt instrument, the lethal but extremely dull, uninteresting man to whom things happen. If the criteria is stuck to, that means favorites like Tom Hardy, Idris Elba, Henry Cavill, presumably don't match what Villeneuve and everybody else are leaning towards. Also, considering that by the time James Bond 26 begins shooting in 2027, both Aaron Taylor Johnson and Jake Loudon will be 37 years of age. Will they be too old for Villeneuve? But yeah, we'll see. But that's what we have so far. So production beginning after Dune 3, looking for an unknown within the age range of late 20s to early 30s, coming out of the UK. Maybe we should Google late 20s, early 30s British actors and see who pops up in the running here. But this is an inspiring update, I think. I mean, look, it seems like it's going to be a while before casting kind of even begins, and I'm okay with that. I would much rather them take their time instead of trying to produce something and just push something out there. You know, I think one of the biggest worries that people have when it comes to Amazon MGM was like, we're going to get multiple spin-off series, like they're just going to dilute this franchise. And look, that may happen. Who knows? But at least out of the gate, it seems like they're taking care of this with kid gloves. Very aware of the importance of what this franchise means to a lot of people. And I kind of like the idea of going with an unknown personally. When I think of unknown, I think of somebody that like has maybe done work before, but isn't necessarily a household name. That if you see him, it'll be like you think about him as another character, right? Like I think of I would consider David Cornin Sweat an unknown. You know, even though we've seen him in something like the Netflix series Hollywood before, people are like, what series is that? Exactly what I'm talking about. He's also popped up in he was also in Twisters. You guys, I don't know if you guys remember him being in Twisters. He was a supporting character in there, but I wouldn't call that a household name. So to me, that's still very much like an unknown actor. So I kind of like that route. Somebody that doesn't have a lot of baggage under his name, to where when you see him, you think of him as another character instead of being able to truly embody the James Bond character. So there's a lot of names that have been dropped that seemingly are now excluded. That when I think about outside of maybe Idris Elba, that I really had a hard time of like actually seeing playing James Bond. It's just like not believable to me in that regards. And so I think an unknown is certainly the way to go. Yeah, I think that's especially fresh face, 20s, 30s. You have the opportunity to make films with them for like the next 10 years or whatever the case may be. I think that's probably the correct route to go, Stu.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I like the fact that they're going with a young unknown to play James Bond, because I feel like, I don't want to say it would be too distracting, but it would be kind of distracting if they went with someone who we know from other roles, and so we'll just kind of be thinking it's that actor rather than it's the new James Bond. So I think that's a smart route to go. I also like that they're hiring Young to let you know that this is a full-on reboot, and that we're planning ahead for multiple movies within this franchise. I'd be curious to see which books that they adapt, but I think on top of that, one of the weirdest things that he said, that he kind of straight up admitted about it. I don't want to say admitted, like this is like something that like, I don't know, it feels like kind of an open secret. And that is that James Bond, I feel like the idea of hiring someone who's kind of bland makes sense, because James Bond isn't necessarily the most interesting things about his movies. In fact, I think that's like what's so interesting about James Bond as the character, is that he's so focused on his job. His personality constantly shifts into whatever it needs to be in order to get the job done. I don't want to say, when I say personality, I mean like more just like the way he acts in certain situations, not like he as a character is inconsistent, more of just he's so good at adapting that like it even means that he can change his personality to an extent if he needs to for the mission. So it kind of makes sense that they would want to go with someone who's like not only like a fresh face, but also someone who can come off as like kind of bland, like at first, until like you get him into the mission. So like I think, and then of course, I've gushed about the director so many times, but I think that with all the pieces that we have so far, everything that we're hearing about it, I'm just getting more and more excited about the new franchise reboot as it comes out, or as we get more news.
Yeah, I am too. Let me see here. Blossom says James Bond as a lady. What in Richie Foley's name were they drinking? No, it was just speculation. It's not true though. I am a tad curious though. Is what Blossom says. But no, they're not going the female route. It will be a male in his late 20s, early 30s, fresh face, unknown Brit. So if you guys know anybody that fits that category, please let us know.
Technically, Tom Holland. Or wait, no, he's not an unknown. Never mind.
Yeah, he's definitely not an unknown. And Tom Holland, look, man, I just I just don't see him as James Bond, but unfortunately, man, that's just me. But look, if you guys have any ideas as to who fits that criteria, please go ahead and certainly let us know. To me, it's just hard to find out who's British or not, because half these British actors have such great American accents when I see them in movies. I don't even know who's British or international anymore. I really don't.
Did you ever watch Talking Dead? It was the talk show after The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
One
after
of my
Walking Dead, yeah,
one of my favorite freaking interviews, just because of how hard this made me laugh, was when Chris Stuckman was interviewing, I forgot the actor's name, but it was the guy that plays Morgan from The Walking Dead. And Chris Stuckman's like, you're so, used very sparingly in the show, and yet you seem to be a fan favorite. Why do you think that is? Morgan's about to answer. He's like, honestly, I'm not quite. And then Chris just immediately interrupts him and goes, oh my God, you're British?
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, it's pretty amazing what they can what they have, just the transformation that they have. It's pretty insane. I'm trying to look up British actors. I'm having a hard time, dude. Who's this guy? He looks like he might be able to do something. Oliver Jackson Cohen. How old is he though? He looks like he might be an older gentleman though. Yeah, everybody I'm finding is like late 30s. Yeah, I don't know, man. Somebody put in Henry Golding that was in the Snake Eyes movie. That would be dope, but he's like late 30s also. So he's like 38. So I don't know. I don't know where out there going to go, but let us know your thoughts, guys. Who would you kind of like to see with that criteria? Who would you like to see as James Bond? Let us know your thoughts. And with that out of the way, let's move on to our next topic. We'll see if we have two more topics. We'll see if we get to both of them. But I did want to go ahead and bring up this one because we are getting towards the end of Stranger Things. Stranger Things is set to go ahead and wrap up this year. I believe they're breaking down the last season into like 3 parts, if I'm not mistaken. 2 parts or 3 parts. I can't remember. Coming in towards the end of the year and even dropping on New Year's also. But after the Duffer brothers, who have showrun and written all of Stranger Things along with Sean Levy, are done with Stranger Things, they have officially made a huge deal, exclusive deal with Paramount Pictures, as they're going to be leaving Netflix. They'll still be working with Netflix in some capacity in regards to some of like the Stranger Things spinoffs and stuff that they've kind of got down the pipeline that Netflix is eventually going to produce. But Paramount is going to be working very closely with the Duffer brothers, and the Duffer brothers this week had an opportunity to sit down and really talk about the potential for what they would like to personally do in the future for themselves. So let's dive into this and see exactly what the Duffer brothers have in mind. They talk a little bit about I may not read the whole article, but it does say the Duffer brothers discuss Stranger Things' future, their big Paramount deal. Theatrical release is something we dreamed about since we were little kids. Can they make their transition from the small screen to the big screen? We'll definitely see. This is what they're saying, though. Let me go ahead and bring up this article. Where'd it go? It says, when Matt and I were talking about what we want to do next, it really came down to we wanted to do a movie, specifically an original movie, a big original movie, is what Ross Duffer said. And theatrical is so important to us. He added that they hadn't sought out a new deal. The brothers are still deep in post production on the final season of Stranger Things, which premieres in November. Instead, Paramount approached them, and the prospect of theatrical distribution is what we really got excited about. It's just something we dreamed about since we were little kids. While they say they specifically will be focused on making original movies, Matt Duffer said that they would be open to looking at existing properties within the Paramount umbrella that we really responded to, but the bar appears to be quite high. The market is so flooded with IP, and sometimes it's like IP that doesn't mean anything. I don't understand that. How does that bring any value to anything? I like IP that was botched. Someone swung and missed, then you have an opportunity to do it properly. The Duffers emphasize that they don't plan on becoming prolific producers of a large stable of shows and films. We don't want to become like Bad Robot. Ross and I are incapable of juggling that many things. Instead, we want to emulate what 21 Laps co-head Sean Levy did with them when he agreed to produce Stranger Things in 2015, even though they had zero experience creating television. We like identifying really talented people and then just helping them get their vision made, and then mostly staying out of the way. Instead, they plan on making event series akin to Stranger Things. If TV shows come out every year, it's diminishing return. I like buildup. So this is interesting. Let me read this again. Upside Down Pictures will also develop television projects for Paramount that focus on the 8 to 10 episode seasons rather than their classic network show for CBS. He says, I get fatigued watching 20 episode seasons, Matt says. We didn't grow up interested in any of that. We only watched movies. That's the weird thing, that we ended up in TV because we had almost zero interest in TV. If TV shows come out every year, it's diminishing return. I like the buildup. I find this interesting, Stuart. We'll go back to some of his other stuff that he says here, but they clearly have a movie mentality in mind when they're creating this show like Stranger Things. So for some of us who grew up in the, first off, I'm kind of curious as to how old they are, because I'm sure they did grow up during syndicated television with 20 episodes, but clearly they emphasize we were movie guys. So the idea that we've waited all these years for Stranger Things seasons comes down to the idea that they personally just do not like dropping shows every year, that they feel like there is a negative outcome in the sense of no benefit, like it has diminishing return, but they like that buildup of having people kind of wait. And I guess that would make sense in the sense that like these seasons have released like movie sequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a take that okay, I mostly disagree with, but in today's time where it's like I actually do agree with the fact that there's no diminishing there's no like what was the term that they use, diminishing return? No,
he says if a show comes out every year, it's diminishing return. Like you're not getting the bang for your buck.
Okay. Ooh, so they see it at okay, yeah, no, I disagree then completely with that.
Yeah, they have the impression that people
yeah.
should wait for seasons to come. Like it's a proper buildup.
Because like I like both. I like both TV shows that feel like movies, but I also, I grew up on shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Star Trek, and stuff like that, where they had 22 episode seasons, but like I was hooked every week watching these. I like seeing the story, even if it's an episodic show, I still like seeing the story progress in terms of how characters grow, seeing what these characters do, because you can't do this with movies, but you can do this in TV shows. TV shows have these tropes that we've seen all the time throughout every single show. They have so many TV tropes, so many episodes that have the exact same plot over and over, but we watch it not because we're interested to see how the plot unfolds, because we're interested to see how these characters that we love, how do they interact with this type of a plot unfolding? What are their thoughts on this type of a story? How do they adapt? How do they, fall? How do they get back up? That kind of that kind of thing. You can't get that with movies the same way you get with television, or if you do get it with movies, it takes a long time. Like, yes, James Bond's entire franchise, for example, it didn't happen overnight. This was over the courses of like 60 years. And I think that like 22 episode like television shows, again, I get they don't work today as much as they used to, because now everything is streaming and now cable television is not what it used to be. But I don't know, I just don't like the way they phrased it, because they made it seem like you never got any bang for your buck out of TV shows. You never got any value from watching it. And it's like, no, I got a lot of value. I mean, like, yeah, from watching these shows. I mean, like, yeah, I think that was just kind of a ridiculous thing to say, just because, again, you're able to see these characters in so many more situations than you ever would be able to in a film franchise or in a TV franchise that, like, again, kind of goes with the streaming structure. The episodic, the 22 episode seasons allows you to see a variety, right? That pops up on the article, but it allows you to see a variety of situations that you just can't get in movies and streaming shows.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I will say I am one of those people that I do miss 20 episode seasons personally. I mean, I don't mind the streaming format. Like I think for me, I need double digits, guys. I just need double digit shows. I like the ability to have these characters really grow. And so again, when I it's so funny because I remember trying to tell my girlfriend, like, babe, did you ever watch Lost? And she's like, no, I never watched it. I'm like, all right, let's try and watch it together. And we try and watch season 1, and we're like episode 10, episode 12, and she's like, man, this is a really long season. How many episodes are there? There's like 23 episodes. She's like, oh my god, we're only like halfway through this show. This show is so long. I'm like, dude, this is what we got every year. And it wasn't like half an hour. It wasn't like half an hour episodes. We're talking 45-50 minute long episodes. I'm like, dude, we got this every year for like 6-7 seasons. So I don't know if it's diminishing return, because I think the wait alone for 1 year is like enough buildup. Like at that point, if I'm waiting 2-3 years, it's almost to the point of like I'm losing interest now. Whereas like my buildup is good for maybe a year, maybe a year and a half. But that's if you're making television. People, I think, have that kind of expectation. So I regardless of how they feel about television, that their mindset around making movies is interesting to me. I want to see what these two can do on the big stage. Like, Sean Levy went from Stranger Things, and now he's making these really great movies. Now the man is literally making a Star Wars movie. That feels like right up his alley. And if Sean Levy can do that, I really want to know what the Duffer brothers can do, in the sense of being able to give us modern day movies that have that Spielberg-esque coming of age kind of feel. Now, I don't know if every original IP that they want to do is going to feel like Stranger Things. In fact, I kind of hope that it doesn't. But because that they have such an influence, I think, from Steven Spielberg and those 80 type of films, I kind of want to see those same influences at least kind of brought to the big screen. If they can do more original content first, I think that would be really great on their part, because God knows we need more original content that can then turn into great existing IPs. And we've seen them already do that with Stranger Things. But if they can do that on a bigger scale for a production company and creating something original that grabs people's interest and turns into more, I'd rather take that than seeing them tackle an IP. Not to say that I don't want to see them on an IP. The fact that they say we're interested in IPs that people have taken swings at and have missed. And
Yes.
if we can improve upon that and make it something that's formidable and relevant into today's zeitgeist or whatever the case may be, I'd rather see them take a shot on those type of IPs and their original movies before just giving them a big franchise sort of thing. But the Duffer Brothers, I think, are creative enough. I think they're intelligent enough to really give us something original and fascinating that I think a lot of people would love to see when it comes to movies these days. So yeah, I'm excited for them.
My manager and I, back when I had just gotten out of high school and I was working at the Cinemark Theater, we had this idea for a production studio where we would specialize in remaking bad movies, basically bad movies specifically that had really cool concepts and we felt like could have actually been like explored on a much like kind of deeper and like, if it was just tweaked just enough, it could have actually been a great movie. That would have been the idea. So it is kind of similar. It sounds similar to what they kind of have in mind there with the idea of, we tackle IPs that, just didn't really get it right the first time around. We want to try to give them a second go around. I'm like, that's a very cool, because then it shows that like, whatever they tackle, it isn't coming from like we want money, so we're going
right, like a money
whatever.
grab.
Yeah, we're not going for the money grab. We're going from what can we use to actually tell like a good story. The other thing that they said, I know I just talked a lot of shit about them for what they said about TV, which I do still think that like I wouldn't have minded so much because everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's just that they sounded so objective about it when they said it. That's all it is. But anyways, going back to what they said earlier, I also like the idea that they said that they're the Upside Down studio. Is that what they're calling it? Upside Down Studios?
Something like that. Yeah. Upside down something. Yeah.
I do like that they want to make sure that like if they hire other people to work on projects that they're there to help, but they're not there to like make the movie with them or for them. It's like, no, this is your movie. We want to see your vision. We don't want you to see, we don't want you to take our vision and make that into a movie. It's your movie. And, it seems to be very similar to what James Gunn claims that he's currently trying to do with the DC universe.
Yeah, Marcelino kind of echoes your sentiments. He says, I love the Duffer Brothers, but they sound a bit childish.
Yeah.
Especially since I started watching Buffy and many other 20-episode season shows. I appreciate the writers for what they can do. And I don't think he's bad talking the writers. I get the idea of how they may come across in that regards, and I don't necessarily agree with them. But I think the fact that they do clarify, like we're movie guys, like the fact that we are even doing television is different and odd for us, sort of thing. And the way that they make television is that of a movie. And so I with how they were brought up and they were raised, I can understand why they would certainly have that mindset and that viewpoint on TV. I don't agree with them, but I can understand where they're kind of coming from in that regards. Also, during the writer's strike, many writers said they missed 20-episode shows because more episodes would help pay their rent. That's something that streaming doesn't offer. Yeah, streaming services negate that in the sense of, not only the idea of having more episodes to get paid on, but then residuals after that and royalties after that, right? Like it's nowhere near like the syndicated system where you would have reruns and you would still get these royalty checks years after because your show is still being syndicated. You're getting less work and you're not getting paid for how many times people actually watch your stuff on a streaming service. Although I'm sure maybe with the whatever they agreed to after the strike, maybe they do get some different levels of residuals. I can't remember what the agreement was, but that was what everybody was certainly fighting for during that time. But yeah, I do miss the 20-episode seasons, but I will say just the attention span alone for some people these days, like they just can't make it. They just can't make it through 20-episode seasons. But yeah,
it's definitely like it would definitely be a lot harder to binge like 20 episodes seasons. And I think that's like what streaming services care about more than anything is can people binge this show,
Yeah. Can they binge it? Can we have repeat value? Can we get people to keep coming back and wanting to binge these shows over and over again? Yeah, that's definitely in their playbook. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. The Duffer Brothers, have big plans for wanting to do theatrical, which I think would benefit them greatly. I'm a big fan of what their vision has been from Stranger Things. I kind of want to see what some of their more original content is going to be on the big screen. But let me know your thoughts and your eagerness to see them. We did have one more story, Stuart, but we are running a little bit late here, so I might actually skip this story and just move on to our final segment of the day, if that's cool with you.
Totally works for me.
All right. And I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And it is time for our live viewer questions segment of the show. If you guys have any live viewer questions, feel free to go ahead and submit them. I will always go ahead and drop. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, let me go ahead and pull up this page. You can find us on YouTube at APlus Hero Report. You can type it in as Hero Report. We'll be there. Every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we will drop a live viewer question post for you guys. Just go over to our YouTube channel, as you see right here. Click on that post tab, and voila, live viewer questions. So we will go ahead and sort these out and get to your guys' questions today. Marcelino coming through with number one here. Something that has been a pet peeve of mine lately when it comes to Star Wars is the lack of alien main characters in live action. Most Star Wars characters created for live action have mostly been humans. You might argue that characters like Ahsoka, Hera, Admiral Thrawn, and Black Chrysanthemum are main characters, but those characters were created in other forms of media. I'm talking about characters who debut in live action. Alien characters are mainly portrayed as unimportant or annoying side characters or as villains. Neil from Skeleton Crew, I feel like, is the only exception who managed to break out of that trope. If I was in charge of Lucasfilm, I would make it mandatory that every creator has to incorporate alien characters as part of the main cast. I would make characters like Fennec Shade, Carson Teva, Cara Dune, Balin Skull, Shin Hati, half of the cast of Andor, half the Rogue One cast. Saw Gerrera's Squid Rebel friend, I would make it mandatory that Tony Gilroy has to give as much importance to the overall story with speaking on the same level as Bix, Mon Mothma, Cyril, Dedra, etc. Depending on what Squadron is going to be about, I would either make Ryan Gosling, or I think he meant Starfighter, or the second lead character, an alien. I have zero problem with the actors in general. My problem is that Star Wars feels like a galaxy that's primarily populated by humans and not an equal balance of humans and aliens. You understand where I'm coming from? Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. And you're right. I mean, thinking about Skeleton Crew, seeing Neil gain that level of popularity and prominence that he did, and having a big role in as part of the main cast is probably one of the few times that we've seen outside of like Chewbacca, as part of like, because I do view Chewbacca as kind of a main cast, even though he is, I'm sure, considered like a supporting character, but him and Han are a pair. So I kind of always view it as a main cast. But outside of those two, I can't really think of live action where we've had an alien as part of the main cast, or the main character per se. So that is kind of a missed opportunity. The only thing I could think of as to maybe why Lucasfilm does that is because as the main character, maybe they want you to feel relatable, to be able to see yourself on the big screen, and feel like you're kind of a part of that world. Like maybe they feel if they have human counterparts as the main, like human people as the main character, then we as audience members, we can easily plug ourselves into that character, into this crazy ass world that is populated and filled with aliens, because they are kind of like that human point of view. I don't think there's anything wrong with making a Star Wars main character an alien. I actually think that would be pretty dope. Like if we got like a Twi'lek, a Twi'lek or Twi'lek, however you pronounce it, like main character, I think that would be pretty neat to kind of see. But yeah, I mean maybe Ahsoka, because we do have like Hera and stuff. But he said it was already created in another medium and then brought into live action. I think he's talking like more original Star Wars content with live action aliens as part of the main cast, and we really have not seen that. But I do think there's an avenue for it. Why do you think they haven't pulled the trigger on it though?
I don't know. Maybe casting aliens would be too woke even for Disney. Sorry, I've been wanting to make that joke ever since I saw it, and ever since you started reading the question. No, I 100% think it's what you said. Just human characters are easier to connect with, and then like you bring up Ahsoka and
Hera.
Hera, it's like, yeah, they're Twi'leks, they're aliens, but they are very much like, very human shaped, human faces. So it's like easier for us as humans to connect with those characters. So that's why I think that when it came to Ahsoka, they had no problem putting in like Ahsoka as like the main character. But I do think that like when it comes to the heavy makeup kind of alien characters like Neil, for example, I think that like, yeah, Disney's afraid of putting those characters in for, that exact reason. They're like, no, we need characters that people can connect with. No one can connect with a character like Neil because he doesn't look like a human. But I think that as long as you have a very human kind of performance behind the mask, behind, however the special effects are done, I think that people will connect to it regardless of what the alien themselves look like, whether they're a Wookiee, whether they're a Twi'lek, or whether they're, I don't know how you would pull this off, but I'm sure a good writer could figure it out, whether they're a Rancor.
And I think that really just comes down to what your story is, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that has to visually look like you, but if you can make an alien, a Twi'lek, or whoever it is that is your main character, if you can give them characteristics and traits or motivations or things that they need to personally overcome that I think us as viewers can relate to, then I think you can have something. You can definitely have something there. It is just interesting that they haven't necessarily gone that route. Like maybe it is the case of maybe they're worried that if it's an original concept or original story, to start off that original concept of having to draw people in, to be able to do that with an alien character might be an uphill battle to climb. Can you get people to come out to the movie theaters for not only an original movie and concept, but also an alien creature and character? I think to them that probably worries them in regards to what the return on investment might be. Whereas, okay, even if it is an original IP and we put a human character in here, at least we're immediately transporting our general audience into that world, and maybe we can get more people to come out to the audience. That's the only thing that I can think of, because Star Wars is such a galaxy filled with different species. It is interesting that we haven't gotten a series or a movie that's completely led by them, that's original. So I think there's probably more risk than reward for Disney, even though I would agree with you in the sense that if it just all comes down to story, if you can get a character that people can relate to, that should certainly be enough. But we'll see. We'll see if anything like that changes when it comes to Lucasfilm. Indy, what's up,
yeah.
Indy? Indy's in the house. We got Bug coming through. What's up, Bug? Thank you so much. I think Bug might have been the one that actually we got some press passes for Michigan City Comic-Con this past weekend, I believe. So I got some press passes for Indy, but I think he had Bug do some coverage this week. Maybe I might be tripping, but regardless, it's great to see you guys here. Thank you so much for certainly coming through, man.
Indy, when are you coming back on the show?
Yeah, he's working like 7 days a week, man. But he is getting, I think last time I spoke with him, he said he's trying to change his schedule around so that he can maybe work nights on Sundays so that he can join us in the morning. So we'll see how that turns out.
Hell yeah, do it, Indy.
Here's what I don't want in the Power Rangers reboot. I don't want the villains to be aliens. Aliens as villains have been done to death. After Lost Galaxy, the villain origins would range from being demons sealed away, supernatural, failed experiments, etc. And while we still got aliens as the villains, they would be done more sporadically, so it didn't feel overwhelming. But when the Neo Saban era started, with Megaforce to Ninja Steel, all the villains would be aliens, which got very repetitive. We did a break with Beast Morphers, where the villains were machines, but Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury returned to using aliens again. Now, I'm not opposed to using aliens again in the future, but more variety wouldn't hurt. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt for sure.
I think for the first season, we're definitely going to have like aliens, because it's a reboot. They want to give us something in familiar territory. So I would expect a villain like Zed or Rita for its first season. But yeah, I do agree that afterwards, give us more variety.
Maybe like a humanoid alien, that looks human. And then maybe his minions are real alien looking. But yeah, I would definitely like, well, I was gonna say Machine Empire, but then they're kind of like robots or machines, but they kind of have that alien form. I don't know, but I understand what you're saying, Marcelino, for sure. It wouldn't hurt. We also know how representation is important, but one thing you guys often leave out are the token sellouts. Basically, these are famous people who promote their platform by attacking their own community. The most famous of them is Ken Jeong, who always played an over-the-top Asian stereotype, and when people within the Asian community call him out for it, he called whiny teenagers who can't get laid, and even after they tell him that they suffer Asian hate because of his influence. Many people within the Asian community have often ostracized him because he's willing to attack his own community and endorse negative stereotypes just to appease white people. Other people who have been labeled as token sellouts, including Mindy Kaling, using negative Indian stereotypes in Velma, Candace Owens, particularly being a white supremacist, Caitlyn Jenner, endorsing laws that negatively harm trans people, just to name a few. And that's not including YouTubers who like to make content about mocking and attacking their own communities as well as other communities. Uncle Rogers, Steve He. I don't know half these people, dude. And I had two questions regarding what are your overall thoughts on token sellouts, and why don't you call them out more when they hit public? Half the time, dude, I don't even know who half these people are that you mentioned, to be quite frank with you. Like, I get Mindy, but I've never watched Velma, so I have no idea about her stuff. Candace Owens, Caitlyn Jenner, I definitely have certainly thoughts on them for sure. But these other people, these other YouTubers or people in the community that you're talking about, I really don't. Like, I try not to pay attention or seek out these things unless things like this kind of come to my doorstep. And it's made aware to me. But like Ken Jeong stuff, I don't know anything about that guy at all. So that's the only reason why I don't call them out. Trust me, if you follow my Facebook page, I very much call out people like Candace Owens and Caitlyn Jenner, but I do try and keep what we talk about here focused on movies and television. But those stories just aren't prominent in my algorithm to pop up as in regards to talking about it. So that's one of the reasons why we don't really call them out more on this channel, just because it doesn't come my way for me to address. But as far as what are my overall thoughts on token sellouts, God damn, I feel like I can go on for days. I'm trying to find the appropriate words to use in this regards. I will just say I'm not a believer in I'm not a believer in punching down. Let me say that. I don't like punching down to your own people and people that are already struggling. I am a believer in we should punch up. If you're a comedian or if you are writing or directing or acting sort of thing, or even if you're speaking. So the idea that we rather punch down to minorities and people that are already at the whims of whatever else is going on in this effing world, I think is really terrible. Honestly, doesn't help anybody. It's not funny to me, but I also think it's also not going to get you any closer to these people that you want to appease. You know, and I think that I think they think by doing that, while they are certainly bringing in the money and raking in the money from benefiting from talking about things like that, it's not going to get you closer to being accepted by the group of people that you're trying to appease. At the end of the day, you're just a tap dancing monkey to them. You know, like you will never be one of them as much as you want to appease and try and fit in. They will use you until you mess up or they don't need you anymore. And I think somebody like Candace Owens might be recognizing that right now, which is why I think she's kind of changing her tune. But I there, it's not uncommon, unfortunately. Back in the days, trust me when I say, slave masters always had one of them in the house. Let me just say that, okay? That had no problem of telling on others in their community or belittling the people that were outside compared to the people that were inside. And that's kind of how I view those people. Taking advantage of a system that will benefit them, but realizing that at the end of the day, they are never going to accept you in that regards. They'll use you, they'll make you feel comfortable and close, but when it benefits them, you are just as much on their list as everybody else is. And it's just to me, it's just they just do terrible harm. Now again, I don't know these people. I don't know these people like you mentioned, so I don't know what they're advocating for. I don't know what they're trying to get across. But for people like that, when I think about them or I see them, I think they're just doing a detriment to their communities and their society, and that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, I think that obviously, you kind of brought this up earlier, but in terms of Candace Owens and Caitlyn Jenner, we don't really talk about them on this channel because we're more with the nerd pop culture kind of thing, and they're pretty much all politics. But for me, fuck both of them, obviously. But so the ones that I tend to call out tend to be kind of the YouTube other pop culture kind of nerds. Those are the ones that really spread a bunch of false information, on YouTube, and they're and it's usually through what we discuss, which is pop culture and just nerd news all around. So kind of like the people who spread the grifting channels, the ones that spread the lie, the hate, the anti-woke, and then trying to claim that DEI is ruining everything. That those are the ones that I tend to call out a lot more. And yeah, he's just, and I know there are some that are of color, you have Eric July and that kind of stuff, but most of them are white, so that's why those are the ones I call out. I am kind of sad though, I will say, but before we move on, I am sad to hear about Ken Jeong, because I get it, if people were offended by his character in Community, Ben Chang, totally understandable. I personally love Ben Chang, and I love Ken Jeong's performance as Ben in that show. But if other people found it offensive, I'm not going to argue with that. That totally makes sense. So for him to call those people out in such a rude way and then say that you guys just need to get laid, you shouldn't be offended by the way I'm doing it, instead of listening to what other people are saying and real, I think that's just such a bad behavior to respond that way, if that's actually how he responded to people giving genuine criticism towards him.
Yeah, I agree. But let's move on to another question. I just, some days I get exhausted talking about this shit sometimes.
Understandable.
It's just yeah, it's a very exploitative. It's all about making money. And it's just a really selfish mentality. I think, I don't, sometimes I think they know exactly what they're doing, and they're okay with it. And I think it's just sad. It's sad. The most talented man in the world. In the 2017 Power Ranger movie, Jason Scott's father, Sam Scott, is heavily implied to know his son's secret identity as the Red Ranger, even though it's never explicitly confirmed through dialogue. The most significant piece of evidence comes at the end of the film when Sam replaces a newspaper clipping about Jason's past football achievements with an article about the Red Ranger on the family fridge. This action, coupled with Jason having directly rescued his father while wearing the Ranger armor during the final battle, likely making his voice recognizable, suggesting that Sam has put the pieces together. His initial frustration with Jason gives way to pride, as evidenced by substituting the sports clipping with the heroic feat, implying he now understands and respects the true intent of his son's actions. This knowledge makes Sam Scott likely the sole parent among the core team in this film's continuity to be aware of his child's secret identity as Power Rangers. Jason's rescue, coupled with Sam's subsequent display of pride, is a powerful nonverbal confirmation of his understanding. It distinguishes their family dynamic from the others and adds an emotional layer to Jason's journey. Given this implied but unconfirmed knowledge, would Sam Scott have become a confidant to Jason and the team if a sequel had been made?
That went over my head. I need to rewatch this movie now. That's cool. I think that, yeah, if that was done on purpose and they really wanted to imply that he knew he was Jason, I feel like that they were probably going to set it up for something like where Jason has a big moment of self-doubt, and then his dad, who, very
confirms
much in
that
the
he
beginning,
knows.
Yeah, he confirms that he knows and confirms he's proud and says, no, you can do this. I believe in you, son. And it would be great because it would show like how much their relationship had developed from the first movie, where, his dad just couldn't have been more disappointed in him when the movie starts off. So
yeah, I kind of got the implication. I think that whole him saving his dad thing, I think, was filmed intentionally that way to kind of make, to me, it made it feel like the father picked up on something. Maybe he recognized the voice. I don't know. The way it was filmed to me kind of implied it a little bit. But now I kind of almost want to go back. But I would love to have seen him be a confidant for his son based off of what their experience was like together in the first movie, to kind of see that growth between father and son in the sequel. I think would be pretty legit. So I'd be open to it. Blossom, do you remember the book Miss Nelson is Missing? In a nutshell, it's about unruly kids learning the hard way about how to treat their teachers, especially from their substitute, Miss Viola Swamp. I heard that they have Melissa McCarthy for Miss Nelson. Since she played a teacher before, I'm totally interested, since the Miss Nelson books are one of my favorite stories from childhood. Remember how Mighty Morphin Rangers were turned into kids? How'd it be if the Rangers were turned into kids in another dimension? They turn into kids due to some unresolved situation they had faced, and to change back to their original ages, they have to overcome those past situations. I was never a really big fan of the Mighty Morphin as kids. I don't know what it was. I didn't care for it too much. I would say no, Blossom, but if you want to go that route, feel free to. I was just not a big fan of Power Rangers turning into kids. Like that whole storyline for the Alien Rangers stuff, I just never captured my imagination though.
I've been following, because I think he was also in Three Ninjas. I've been following the one that played the young Rocky from that arc on TikTok. That guy's really funny.
He is funny. Yeah, he's super funny. I've never read the Miss Nelson is a Missing book, but maybe I should look. Originally published in 1977. I might have to pick up this book and see if maybe give us have something new reading material for my son. We'll see. He might like it. But I never read it before. But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
This looks familiar. If I remember correctly, I think this is one of those the students treat the teacher really badly, like they really misbehave, and then the teacher's like, something must be done, so she pretends to be missing, but she disguises herself as the substitute teacher who is basically super harsh to the children. And so then when she comes back as the teacher, suddenly the kids are super nice to her again. So that's a role I think that's perfect for Melissa McCarthy, because I assume they would take it to an extreme level and make it full on slapstick humor. And I think, like, you know, the one thing that Melissa McCarthy is great at is slapstick comedy, because like she's like, okay, so her and Nick Frost, despite the fact that they're both pretty heavy set, they are freaking they're really athletic when it comes to like some of their like movies,
the comedy and
like,
stuff.
Yeah, when it comes to the comedy,
physical
like
comedy.
physical comedy, they like excel in that in terms of like the stunts that they're able to do. So yeah, like assuming that she's able to bring that to the table, that sounds like a movie with potential.
Yeah, this feels almost like a Mrs. Doubtfire vibe, Mrs. Doubtfire vibes, in the sense of like I could easily see her being caked up in different types of makeup layers to pretend to be this this substitute teacher. But I do love that concept of like teaching the kids a lesson in the sense of enjoying what you have until it's gone, sort of thing, right? Like treating people, not only treating people better, but it's like you guys really had it good and you didn't even really know about it. It could be so much worse. So I kind of dig that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Blossom. I didn't even know they were thinking about making anything about that, but we'll keep an eye on it. Marky Parko, will this potential One More Adventure be a full-scale movie, a streaming event, or a different type of project for the beloved cast? Matthew Lillard recently delighted fans with a social media announcement that he will be reuniting with the 2000s live-action Scooby-Doo cast for what he hinted at to be one more mysterious adventure. This is exciting news for Scooby-Doo faithful, comes a couple of months after Lillard had also announced his long-awaited return to the Scream franchise for the upcoming 7th installment. Lillard, known for his roles as Shaggy and other original Ghostface killer Stu, appears to return for two of his most iconic roles. The possibility of the entire Mystery Gang, including Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Linda Cardellini, reuniting has generated considerable excitement.
Yeah, dude,
did you hear about that?
I did not. This is my first time hearing about this, but like, it's so funny. I love just like the progression of time and just seeing like how the overall like kind of like way people look at, because this is so similar to the Star Wars prequels. Like I swear when Scooby-Doo came out, kids my age, you know, myself included, loved that movie. All right, we loved the Scooby-Doo live action movie, but then, you know, adults absolutely hated it. But
done
now
by
that
James Gunn, though, by the way.
Yeah. I still want to see that R-rated cut, you know, and the footage is still there, and James Gunn is the head of DC Studios, you know, which is owned by Warner Brothers. I'm sure he could pull some strings and get that done. Come on, James Gunn, show us your original vision. But yeah, no, it's so funny how time has passed, and much like with the Star Wars prequels, kids my age are now adults, and now they're the ones that are going like, yeah, this was a classic. We love this movie. So it is funny to see the Scooby-Doo movie suddenly spiking in popularity again.
Planning on being in Daredevil season 2. I also just saw him on stage calling out James Gunn, saying that he's waiting for a role to give him a call. So Matthew Lillard clearly wants to be in the DCU. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is confirmed. I think the Scooby-Doo gang is part of the DC universe. They will be doing a Batman crossover, or maybe even with Crypto at some particular point in time to solve some sort of murder mystery. Confirmed here today, Matthew Lillard is joining the DCU. The Scooby-Doo gang, back for one more adventure. He will be teaming up with somebody in the DCU. I think this is confirmed now.
Yes. Oh my God. No, if there was going to be a Scooby-Doo that exists in the DC universe, that's the Scooby-Doo gang I would want to see in the DCU.
I mean, just blend those worlds together, right?
Yeah.
I mean, James Gunn has done Scooby-Doo in the past. We do know from past TV and cartoon experiences that Scooby-Doo has crossed over with some of these properties. It's all for sure right now. It's all for sure right now. This is what Matthew Lillard was hinting at. He didn't want to give too much away, but confirmed here today, Matthew Lillard returning as Shaggy, the entire Scooby-Doo gang in the DCU. You heard it here first.
This is the secret project that James Gunn had in
Yes.
mind.
The one he didn't want any other Marvel Studios or any other company to jump on board this, because this is the project that he's working on. The first appearance of Batman confirmed in Scooby-Doo movie. All right.
Oh, yes.
Peg C. But regardless, yeah, I don't know what, but in all seriousness though, I am kind of curious if it is interesting timing, because Netflix has a live action Scooby-Doo series that's going to be dropping, that's done by Greg Berlanti and them. So I don't, is this opposite of that he's teasing? Is there another side project that's certainly happening, or will they have cameos in some regards in the Netflix series without being those characters? I'm kind of curious. We'll see.
That I could see, because like all of them have done like dramas ever since the original Scooby-Doo. So I could see if they're doing like a more dramatic take on Scooby-Doo, I could see them playing like parents to like some of the main characters.
Yeah, that might be dope. Let's see here. Peg C, in a recent interview with ET Online, Mark Wahlberg, brother of Donnie Wahlberg, revealed he almost played Dick Grayson in Batman and Robin. Ooh, interesting. Look, Marky Mark had some moves back in the day. I one of the first movies I remember seeing him in was I think it was called The Big Hit. Let me see. The Big Hit. Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, The Big Hit. It was 1998. When did Batman and Robin come out? 1997. So that would have been interesting. Maybe that would have been one of the big movies that he was in. That wouldn't surprise me. That actually would not surprise me. Although he said revealed that he almost played Dick Grayson in Batman and Robin. Was Batman and Robin before Batman Forever? Or was it Batman Forever and then
it was Forever and then Batman, because
Forever.
Forever was when they introduced Robin, and Batman and Robin, of course, was when it was just Batman and Robin from the beginning.
That would imply that they were thinking about maybe recasting Chris O'Donnell.
I wouldn't doubt it, because Chris O'Donnell did say he didn't like filming Batman and Robin. He like, I think most of the cast like just did, and it makes sense too, because they even recast Batman in that movie, because he was played by Val Kilmer in Forever, and then George Clooney in Batman and Robin. So maybe they were like considering recasting both of them.
Wow, that's a great story. I had never even thought about that. He says, yeah, I was in talks. I did not get the official offer, but I was meeting with Joel Schumacher about Batman and Robin for Robin. I was a fan of Joel's and his other work. I wasn't really interested in that type of project. That's kind of cool. I had no idea, but that would make sense, right? Because Batman was replaced for Batman and Robin. Maybe they did have that mindset of like, let's just go ahead and just replace Robin. Also, I think that probably would actually worked out really well. But I kind of would have been okay with Mark Wahlberg as Dick Grayson. And again, this just goes back to just how athletic of an actor or just a person that Mark Wahlberg was during that time, really young and athletic. So I could easily have seen him become like an acrobatic kind of Dick Grayson character and fit in that role. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about performance here, because when it comes to Batman and Robin, I mean, the performance clearly was out the window. So they clearly didn't care about that. But I could easily have seen a world where Mark Wahlberg was Dick Grayson.
Yeah, I've seen like interviews where like anytime someone was given too good of a performance, Joel Schumacher would be like, guys, remember, it's a toy commercial.
What are your thoughts on the passing of Robert Redford and the passing of Gunnar Frank, who is the son of Eric Frank and the nephew of Jason David Frank? I don't know if you had heard about that. Yeah, so Robert Redford had passed. Another tragedy, another legend kind of taken away from us. I don't know what the most recent thing Robert Redford had done, but it's just really unfortunate. They do say things, things happen in pairs or triplets, I believe. And then we had the passing of Gunnar Frank, the nephew of JDF. I don't remember if it was suicide or if it was something else. Just really tragic stuff, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that one. I heard about Robert Redford, and yeah, that one really got to me. But yeah, I hadn't heard of Gunnar Frank though.
Which anime do you enjoy watching most, Pokemon or Digimon?
Man, in terms of, if we're just talking anime, probably Digimon, because with Pokemon, I I enjoyed it, but I don't have as many memories of it like I do with Digimon. Like with Digimon, I still remember, like, I was like freaking 4 years old, but I remember being hyped anytime like a new Digimon Digivolved. I think the one that really got me excited, like jumping out of my seat because like they took their time with it, was Patamon. Because for the longest time, like my brothers and I were like, I bet Patamon can't even Digivolve because he's so weak. He's such a weak Digimon. And plus TK's his owner. There's no way it's ever gonna happen. And then he finally does, and it's Anjumon, the coolest looking out of all of them at the time. And then he ends up being like the most powerful of all the champion Digimons. Man, just such great memories with that show. And then I also really like the characters in Digimon a lot more than Pokemon. But Pokemon's fun as an anime. I think though, like in terms of everything else though, definitely Pokemon, because they gave us like some of the coolest trading cards. And then I love the Pokemon video games so much. Those games are hella fun.
Yeah, I mean, I have limited experience with both of these franchises in the sense of like just the amount that I've watched of both of them. I've enjoyed both of them. I think they are fun, like you said, Stuart. But for me, when Digimon was on Fox Kids, I don't know if it was just because it was part of the lineup that it was on that I just continued to watch it on Saturday morning, sort of thing. But I always did find myself watching more Digimon than I did Pokemon. I just don't know if it was because of the cool armored like digivolving and stuff that I don't want to say felt more grown up to me. I don't know. I don't know what it was personally, but I just always found myself more drawn to Digimon.
Mm-hmm. I think it was just that I love the Fox Kids lineup, and they had
the Fox. I think that could have just been what it was too. Like it was just a stellar lineup that you would just keep it on for like 2 hours and just watch like 4 great cartoons during its time. Mm-hmm. If you had a DeLorean time machine, what year would you want to travel back to and why?
The first one, oh man, I got to be careful because I wouldn't want to travel anywhere where the DeLorean would be unrecognizable. But the first year I want to go back to is 1977. I want to be in the theater when Star Wars premieres. I want to be at the premiere of the original Star Wars.
I kind of dig that. Yeah, because I would love to experience. I would love to experience that. One thing that I've always been fascinated with, is the time of like knights. Ooh. And I think of like A Knight's Tale and things like that. It would be completely unsafe for somebody like myself, but all right, that would not be good to me. But if I can go back to like medieval period in Europe, whatever like century that might have been, it says here, it says the most prominent era of knighthood and its distinctive code of chivalry is often considered between the 11th and 15th century. Take me back there, DeLorean. Hide it under some bushes so I don't, because they will burn me at the stake for witchcraft at some point in time if they ever found that car and me in general. But I don't know. I've always been fascinated with, I guess maybe it is the knighthood and the chivalry aspect, the castles. That always fascinated me. But knowing me, I would be a peasant. Like I would just be shitting in the woods, in a wooden cabin, never getting those privileges, living in the castle or going to these big fairs and stuff. I literally would be a peasant in this world. But I'm always fascinated by how they lived during that time period. So yeah, I would probably go to the medieval period.
Maybe it's Doctor Who rules where, yes. in terms of like race and everything doesn't apply except for when it does. Because like some episodes it like doesn't get acknowledged at all. Other episodes, it's the point of the episode. I love Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong, but oh my God, they are so inconsistent with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Untapped potential of Troy Burrows. 20th anniversary season Megaforce and Super Megaforce are largely disappointed fans, failing often attributed to then executive. Man, AJ, you love shitting on Jonathan Zachers. He talks about Jonathan Zacher on a weekly basis, about how horrible he was, or contributing the failings to this man all the time. I mean, there's probably truth to it. I'm just saying, my man loves talking about Jonathan.
Jonathan Zachers is his Abby Arad.
Yeah, yes.
What Abby Arad is to me,
Troy Burrows, the Red Ranger played by Andrew Gray, received heavy criticism for his stiff, emotionless personality, a direction confirmed by Gray to have been demanded by Zacher despite Gray's own charismatic nature. This lack of character development was a source of fan frustration, especially regarding Troy's unexplained prophetic dream of the future legendary battle, a massive crossover event. He kept these visions secret from his team and mentor, only briefly mentioning to Gia, during the event itself. Furthermore, the show suffered from significant plot holes, such as the unexplained origin of the Ranger keys, which wouldn't be addressed until Dino Fury years later. Adding to the confusion and abandoned potential was a strange event in the two-part Frack is Back, where Troy inexplicably unleashed a massive energy aura to free his comrade Robo Knight from corruption. A moment often described by fans as Troy going Super Saiyan. That's right, I do remember. And then the big, I do remember that. According to the former writer who clashed with Zacher over creative limitations, Troy was originally intended to have a significant Chosen One storyline with a unique power and a special connection to the Morphin Grid, with his visions and this energy burst being leftover artifacts of the abandoned Ark. Fans wished for a deeper explanation for Troy's powers and visions, even theorizing he might be Gosei's long-lost son. Given that the show's creative team, including Bates, intended to explore more significant destiny for the character, what deeper, unique connections to the Morphin Grid or past Rangers do you think Troy could have had to truly honor the franchise's 20th anniversary? First off, I love that idea of a Chosen One kind of storyline for Troy. It kind of gave those vibes in very early episodes, but then just felt abandoned and meaningless throughout the remainder of this season. I honestly thought that was the route that they were going originally. He just felt like, I don't know, he felt like Jason 2.0 in the sense that like he was somebody that really enjoyed martial arts, but like was on like a different level or something like that. Like there was a little bit of a gravitas about him in the first two episodes, but then he was just like, oh, this guy's just boring. He's just way too stoic. There's nothing really going on with this guy besides just being a boring person. But yeah, I kind of wish they would have taken advantage of him. As far as like what deeper, unique connections to the Morphin Grid do you think Troy could have had to truly honor the franchise's 20th anniversary? Anything coming to mind, Stuart, or things you would have liked to have seen for Troy's story to connect to him?
Like me, oh god, but I feel like this would have people like this would come off as too biblical, I guess you could say. But I guess in a way, if he was like kind of like a spiritual offspring of Zordon or something like that, that was like a connection they could have made to be like why he was the chosen one, connected to the Morphin Grid.
That.
But I also get that, like, usually in kid shows they try not to get too like biblical with their story, so I can see them like going either way with that.
I kind of dig that. They could have gone, dude, they totally could have gone the route of like what they did with Star Wars of midichlorians, but like Zordon's, like you said, his leftover energy created a vergence in the Morphin Grid and literally created Troy. And that's his connection to Zordon and the Morphin Grid. Maybe they could have gone that route.
Yeah, there's anything would have been better than
what we got.
Yeah, in fact, there was also like something that the writers were talking about that they had planned for the first episode, which would have added so much. This one scene would have made Troy's character make so much more sense in terms of why he's so bland. But the first scene would have been his dad wearing a military uniform, clearly about to drive off and not see him again for the rest of the season. Basically telling Troy, this is their chance to start over, and Troy asking his dad, "How do I know who to trust?" And then his dad saying, "Trust yourself." It's like that's kind of a good moment between the two of them, and it makes sense why Troy feels very closed off. Like, it's not bad writing, it's actually that he just he's a military brat, so he can't, it's hard for him to make deep connections with people, because when he does, he ends up moving. It would have made him relatable to a lot of people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of different avenues they could have gone. That damn Jonathan Zacher. Jessica Friedman. Do you think James Gunn can introduce his do you think James Gunn can introduce his Justice League team soon? And with Elio doing so well on Disney Plus, do you think Disney should have just put on there and should have just put it on there instead of a theatrical release? And did you see the new Wicked trailer? So we got three questions in there. Did I see the new Wicked trailer? Yes, I did.
Mhm.
I'm hyped for it. It looks really good.
Same. I remember not being hyped at all for the first one. The moment I found out they were breaking in the two movies, that just like took away any hype that I had from it. And yeah, I was kind of glad to be proven wrong with how good Wicked ended up being. And now I'm actually really excited to see the direction they go with the second one, because it seems they're diverging from the original play a little bit, but it's like still sticking to the main structure of it. So I am very curious what changes they kind of make, and how it all kind of comes to how it all like kind of unfolds at the end.
Do you think Elio should have just released streaming instead of theaters?
No, I think Disney should have marketed it better, so it would have done better in theaters. Personally,
there was like no marketing for this movie. I don't know if they didn't have faith in it or what. But it was by Pixar, right? And so I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't more marketing. But yeah, I think I would agree, just more marketing. Doesn't mean it was going to make it a better movie, but at least try it. At least try. At least try to act like you believe in the film.
Yeah.
Do you think James Gunn can introduce his Justice League team soon? I don't know. I almost feel like if the event that we're building up to is going to be a Justice League movie, because I mean, right now there's no Justice League in this world. James Gunn has made that known. Yes, we have a Justice Gang, but I don't think they refer to themselves or see themselves or view themselves, for that matter, as this big entity that is the Justice League team. So could I see it soon? I don't know. I have a feeling if soon means by within the next 2 years, then no. Maybe within the next 3 to 5 years, yes. But as of right, like, I think we'll probably get a Batman Brave and the Bold first. I think we'll probably get a Wonder Woman movie first, before they even introduce us to Justice League and any capacity. I think the Justice League gang that we're gonna get is gonna be a Justice League International instead of like just a Justice League or Justice League America. I think I have a feeling that Justice League International, that especially like by that name, I think is probably where I personally think James Gunn is leading, just because of the world that we're in. We've already kind of been exposed to how people feel internationally about heroes getting involved in their problems. And I think what better way to answer that by having an international specific team. So I think that's maybe what they're leading up to, but I'm not quite sure. But I think maybe within 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I think 2030 is when we're going to get our Justice League movie. I don't think it'll be international. I think that we'll get international a little bit after Justice League, but I feel like if James Gunn wanted to do international before Justice League, I think he would have done that in Superman instead of the Justice Gang. But yeah, that's my prediction.
No, yeah, I like it. Digivolve, one for each of you. The 97 film Titanic by James Cameron was a box office and cultural phenomenon that expertly merged a tragical historical event whose real life legacy led to crucial maritime safety reforms with the timeless star-crossed fictional romance. While the films cemented the disaster's place in modern popular culture and drove groundbreaking achievements in cinematic visuals, did its romantic melodrama ever risk overshadowing the very real historic lessons of class disparity and technological hubris? I personally don't think so. I think the lessons of class disparity and technological hubris was clearly embedded, I think, in the romantic melodrama between the two, because that was the whole point of Rose and Jack's relationship, right, was the class disparity. Like Jack didn't even probably think he had a chance, but he was still going to try because, you know, Rose was a beautiful woman, even though she lived a completely different lifestyle. And even the Billy Zane character, like, looking at these two together, like, why do you even think you ever have the shot of like being with her, or why would she ever want to be with somebody like you, right? So I think class disparity, at least from the romantic point of view, um, plays a part as to why the movie is as successful as it certainly was. So I think that's probably there. The technological hubris, I think it is examined a little bit too. Maybe they could have gone a little bit further with the technological hubris, but I think it was certainly prominent in there. But definitely, I think if out of the two that was most prominent, I think the class disparity, because not only just from the romantic perspective, but I believe if you recall, when the ship is going down, like the poor people that were on the ship, weren't they like closed off, or like the gates were locked, people couldn't escape or get anywhere, and they just felt very comfortable with letting those people kind of perish without helping them because of their class disparity at times. So I do think it was certainly prominent in James Cameron's movie, and I kind of expect that from James Cameron to focus on things like that. So I don't think it took away from the film at all, or overshadowed some of the other aspects of the movie. The original Digimon Adventure series made a significant impact with its compelling character development and surprisingly dark themes, cementing its legacy in the 90s anime culture. Later seasons like Digimon Tamers, Digimon Frontier famously altered the partner dynamic, with the latter introducing spirit evolution, where the human child transformed into Digimon themselves, effectively merging with the power. This change, seen by some as a bold shift to keep the formula fresh, raises a question of whether sacrificing the distinct partner dynamic diluted the core emotional connection of the original series. Furthermore, given the franchise's ability to reinvent itself multiple times, what aspect of the human-monster relationship do you believe is most critical for future Digimon installments to maintain?
So I wanted to be clear that this is a very biased perception because of, like, you know, my relationship with Digimon and how it kind of went forward. I never watched past the second season after they introduced the next generation. You know, that was the last season I watched, and I absolutely, you know, so Davis, Ken, oh God, I forgot the pink girls, the girl with the pink hair, and then Cody. But yeah, that was my last season of Digimon. So just the first two. When they introduced the Digimon Tamer season, I tried getting into it, but for some reason, just even though it was still kind of the same thing, you still had, you know, the main character with their Digimon, the two of them sharing a bond. It just didn't feel the same to me, and I don't know why. Because I hear people nowadays saying that that's the best season of Digimon, but that was unfortunately where I fell off. I guess it was something about the trading card aspect where they would give their Digimon power-ups with trading cards. I just wasn't really into that aspect of it. And then season 4, when they turned into Digimon, that was where I didn't even give that show a chance. I was just like, no, I'm done with Digimon at that point. So that came from me as an immature kid who had like very specific, like, I'm like, no, it's Digimon. I want it to be done this way, you know, Lost Kids, Digital World, that kind of stuff. But so yeah, that's where the bias part comes from. As for like the actual, like, you know, what I think, like looking back, reflecting on it as an adult, I still maintain I don't know how I feel about the idea of the kids becoming Digimon. Because yeah, again, the bond with their Digimon is what made the show what it was. For me, anyways. So even now as an adult, I don't know about that aspect. I think there's a way you could do it. Like maybe instead of having it be the kids turn into Digimon, maybe the kids and the Digimon still have a relationship, but like the two of them kind of fuse. So it's like a fusion kind of relationship when they battle. I think something like that could easily work if they went in that kind of a direction. But yeah, again, you're hearing it from like the biased perspective of me giving up on Digimon at a young age because it wasn't the same Digimon that I liked before. Yeah. And yet I still like Power Rangers, even though that changed every season. So someone explain that.
Let's see here. How many more questions? We got three more groups of questions. All right, let's tackle these. My friends call me Joseph. There have been some rumors circulating that Brand New Day might finally introduce MCU's own version of the Green Goblin. Please, no. A prospect made compelling by William Dafoe's iconic return in No Way Home, which has already confirmed the existence and danger of the villain of Tom Holland's Peter Parker. A key speculation suggests that the newly isolated Peter will encounter his world's Norman Osborn, who might exist under a different name or without the visible Oscorp empire, initially confused by DeVoe's Norman, and attempt to preemptively stop him from becoming the Green Goblin, possibly by interfering with the development of the destructive serum, a move which some fans theorize can inadvertently cause someone like Harry Osborn or even a still memories wiped Ned Leeds to take up the mantle instead. Ned's potential turn to villainy was briefly and ironically hinted at in No Way Home when he told Peter he hoped he wouldn't become a villain like Harry Osborn did in another universe, a foreshadowing that might now be complicated by the fact that no longer remembers Peter's existence. The inclusion of other gritty villains like Scorpion and Tombstone is also fueling theories that they could be setting up the stage for MCU's new Goblin, a possibility which prevents a retread of the initial legacy villains that Peter cured when he saved them from their eventual fates. Adam, given the Brand New Day title and Peter's solo status, do you think it'll be more impactful for Green Goblin being an entirely new character rather than established Norman Osborn, or would that rob the villain of necessary depth? Do you think it would be more impactful for the Green Goblin being an entirely new character rather than establish Norman Osborn? I personally don't even think you bring Green Goblin in. I'm just being honest. A Green Goblin has been done great by William Dafoe. We saw him in Spider-Man 1. We saw him again in No Way Home. I am of the supporter of Ned Leeds as Hobgoblin. I think there's a world that you can bring a goblin back, but I don't necessarily know if I want it to be Green Goblin. I think you can have a lot of fun, and it would be extremely fresh to give us a Hobgoblin version that is, in fact, his best friend as in Ned. I do think that there is something important here, like you point out, in the sense of Ned no longer remembering who Peter Parker is, Peter having a really big influence on his life, and now that he's no longer there, could easily move Ned into a completely different direction. So could they make Ned the new Green Goblin if they wanted to? Absolutely. But we've had a Green Goblin before. Yeah, it may not be the MCU's Green Goblin, but we've had a Green Goblin. I don't think you want to repeat that. And if you want any Goblin, do one that hasn't been on the big screen before. I would love Hobgoblin. And shout out to Joe Kelly, who's the current writer on the Amazing Spider-Man series. Right out of the gate, first 4 or 5 episode issue arc, Hobgoblin. Loved it. So yeah, give me Hobgoblin over Green Goblin in the MCU as Ned. I'll take that over anything else.
Yeah.
Stuart, do you believe that Peter's knowledge of the multiversal Green Goblin makes it inevitable that he attempts to prevent the villain's creation while ironically being a catalyst for the MCU's version?
I kind of hope so, because I love that trope. And I think because it's been set up, I think there's a good possibility of it. That being said, I do kind of agree. I wouldn't want it to happen in this upcoming movie. I would want that like kind of in a future Spider-Man installment, assuming we get like a Spider-Man 5 at some point down the line. And I would also hope that he's not the main villain, that the focus villain would be someone like Ned as the Hobgoblin. I think that would be incredible.
Yeah, I think that could be kind of fun, right? Like the idea of like you having this experience with a previous Norman Osborn, you discover like, hey, we do have a Norman Osborn in this world. He is potentially working on something that could turn him in that way. Let's stop him. But in turn, in stopping him, he actually creates Ned turning into the Hobgoblin in some kind of weird, ironic way. And they're still being a goblin in this MCU, but it's just being the Hobgoblin. Like I could see both. I can easily see that kind of playing out, and maybe kind of similar to where we're at in the comic books right now. Norman Osborn is a friend of Peter, in fact, kind of helping him along his journey right now, even though they have this past between each other. I don't know comic book wise, storyline wise, what got them to that point, but they are cohorts. They are working together now. So, I mean, maybe that's the route that they go. Sam, good news on LA Comic-Con that Ultraman Omega is confirmed English dubbed. I saw a trailer, looked awesome. They should do Kamen Rider Zets can do English dubbed. So I guess Ultraman Omega is confirmed to have an English dub version. I would assume maybe Ultraman will probably also release like they do on YouTube. On Marvel, would like to see Silver Surfer revival series from 1998. You know, I will say that was a dope show. From a animated point of view, Silver Surfer was uniquely awesome in regards to the effects that they had, very Jack Kirby inspired. I don't know if I need a revival. I probably don't want a revival, honestly, but definitely nostalgia for you to even bring it up for me, Sam. I just had to say that great point about Silver Surfer. The technology, the animation technology was great.
And that King of the Hill crossover was absolutely fantastic.
That's right. The Fox Kids thing, didn't they have like a Silver Surfer and then the King of the Hill guy show up?
Yeah, they had Hank because like I think it was that Hank or that King of the Hill would be the first show that started after Fox Fox Kids ended and it was on the same day. So I think that's why they had Hank Hill and Silver Surfer in
like
a
a transition,
together.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch Legacy and Future of Franchise about on Toei Tokusatsu World Official on YouTube. If didn't go to LA Con, watch it on live stream. Okay, the legacy and future of the franchise for Toei Tokusatsu on their World Official YouTube. I'm kind of curious to maybe learn a little bit more about some of their future plans, but that'd be dope. Tony Robinson. Do you guys think Lex getting his hands on Peacemaker's pocket dimension and using it to bring back Ultraman? Ooh,
that I like that.
You know, I don't know if I do like that, but I don't know if Lex will be the reason as to why Ultraman returns. I for some reason I just expect Ultraman to return, but not as Ultraman. I expect him to return as Bizarro. I have a feeling. Yeah, I have a feeling. I think the black hole and being a part of the pocket dimension just really jack up this guy. What brings him back? That I certainly don't know. But you know, look, Lex is always pulling some type of strings behind the scenes, so it would not surprise me.
I do think he's going to get a hold of the pocket of Chris's pocket dimension for sure.
You think so?
I just don't know. Yeah, I just don't think he'll use it to bring back Bizarro.
If Warner Brothers turns down Paramount's offer, who would you see them trying to buy next? God, I hope nobody.
Yeah.
But I could see them attempting to do it. Who owns anybody own Universal? Is Universal under somebody's
I want to say it's under some phone company. Hang on. Is it Comcast?
Yeah, it's owned by Comcast. Universal Pictures is a division of NBC Universal, which is a subsidiary of Comcast, a major media entertainment. So maybe Universal, maybe they purchased Comcast. It says Universal Pictures is a division of the NBC. Yeah, maybe that could be the route that they go.
Yeah. It's still, that line from The Boys still makes me laugh because of like just how accurate it is today. But like the whole thing of how Vought at the end of the day, despite all the things that they do, at the end of the day, they're a pharmaceutical company. Kind of like how you look at Universal, you know, and all the movies that they produce. But at the end of the day, they're a phone company.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, Disney, you know, they produce all this content, but all it's there is to advertise Disneyland. That is their top focus, like more than anything, you know.
And then lastly, last question of the day, since Marvel is going younger with X-Men, could you see them keeping Daphne King as X-23? I feel like I've been preaching this to the high heavens for the longest time. Like when we dive into this new MCU universe, I really do think Daphne King should be our Wolverine. that's just me, and I simply say that because of the idea that it's like, look, I love Wolverine as much as the next person, I really do, but like Hugh Jackman has done such a great job with that character. The idea of like having to replace that man almost feels like a mountain too tall to climb. Not to say that you can't do it, but I just think, especially in modern day comic books, like Laura, aka X-23, plays such a prominent role now as part of the X-Men or in that X-Men universe. I think she's really become a beloved character for many, and I think Daphne Keene has done a great job as her in Logan, along with Deadpool and Wolverine. She's growing up more now. She's been doing a lot more training in the sense of she was just on the Acolyte series and stuff. Let's get more Daphne Keene in here. I don't necessarily know if they'll keep her, and maybe they will keep her as the idea of her as X-23 being the new Wolverine for this world would make 100% sense to me, and I wouldn't even blink an eye if they announced her as like either X-23 or a new Wolverine in this MCU. I think it'll certainly rub people the wrong way, so they probably won't pull the trigger on that because people love them some Wolverine. But I am one of those people that have been screaming to the high heavens, Daphne Keene should be our new Wolverine come the MCU. Maybe that's different from X-23, right? But I think she should be our X-23 / Wolverine for the MCU.
Yeah, I want her to stick around. I'm cool with having both X-23 and Wolverine. In fact, like, yeah, because we don't know how Secret Wars is going to end, but a lot of people are saying it's likely going to involve a merger between the Fox universe and the MCU. So I could see, like, remnants of the Fox universe still existing. Like, I don't see them wanting to get rid of Deadpool anytime soon. And I feel like if you're going to keep Deadpool around, why not keep around, X-23 and a couple other, characters people like maybe Colossus.
That's true. And yeah, they definitely want to go younger too, right? So
Yeah.
Daphne King would be perfect to keep around at least. We'll see what her role is possibly being, but we'll see. Sam says Henry Cavill as Wolverine will be awesome. Yeah, we definitely got a teased in Deadpool and Wolverine for sure.
The Cavalry.
But that will do it, ladies and gentlemen, for all of our live viewer questions. So thank you very much, everybody that certainly participated here in today's show with your live viewer questions. We always love to hear from you guys. So always remember, every Saturday afternoon or evening, we will have a live viewer question post, and you can submit them over for us if you'd like to. But that will do it for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for all the support. Looks like we got like 3 reactions to our live stream over on Facebook today. I hope you guys smash that like button. Feel free to always share these clips, guys, if you love what we were talking about here. But that will probably do it. If anything, I'm in the process. I'm halfway through Marvel Zombies. Once I get done with the 4 episodes, I'll probably be dropping an episode or season review for you guys here on the channel this upcoming week. So certainly look forward to that. A couple movies. I'm trying to see at least 1 or 2 more movies before the end of the month. I want to see that new Leonardo DiCaprio. One Big Thing,
One Battle After
One
Another.
Battle After Another. Yes, I want to see that.
So I haven't seen it yet, but the way like certain people in this movie talk, like specifically the villains, the military people, it kind of like, I've always had this thought in my head, when you have like certain people in power that are like saying just the absolute like ridiculous shit, like some of the most racist, bigoted stuff on camera. My question is always, that's what they're willing to say when the cameras are on them. How do they talk when the cameras are off them? This movie is exactly like the way these characters talk is exactly how I imagine those people talk in IRL,
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I definitely on my radar. I want to see that. I just got done seeing, well, I watched The Long Walk like 2 weeks ago. Great movie. I also saw A Big Beautiful Bold Journey, another great movie. I look at the reviews for that film though, and they are atrocious. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what y'all like. I don't know what movie y'all were watching, but look, movies hit people differently. I thought it was a really good movie. But yeah, but I'm hearing really great things about One Battle After Another. So I am looking forward to seeing that here this week. But yeah, other than that, guys, yeah, that might be it for this week. But maybe we'll have some more. Look, if there's other big news, other big trailers that drop, we'll probably talk about them throughout the week. I did drop my own reviews and reaction for the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. If you want to check out my reaction and more of my thoughts, that is currently up on our YouTube channel. But yeah, we'll definitely have more for you guys. Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01, and you can also find me on Instagram. Or sorry, you can find me at TurboStew01 on both Instagram, TikTok, and what's it called? Letterboxd. I haven't really posted on either three of those in a long time, but you can still find me there, and eventually I'll start posting again. Eventually.
And if you want to follow us anywhere on social media, first over on, well, not first on TikTok, but if you want to check us out on TikTok, we got over 3,000 followers over there. We're on TikTok at Hero Report. We post a lot of trailers throughout the week, quick discussion videos for you guys, sometimes clips from each week's episode of APlus Hero Report. I also do new comic book day hauls. When I go to the comic book, I always point out the comic books that I'm certainly reading for the week. So check us out there. If you want to follow us on other social media, right here, very active over on Facebook. That's where we keep you guys up to date on the daily basis. We drop news articles, discussion topics, trailers, posters, behind the scenes stuff. We definitely keep you updated all throughout the week. And then at the end of the week, we take 6 topics from our Facebook page and we talk about them here with you guys. You can also find us everywhere else: Instagram, Twitter, Threads, if you'd like to. But yeah, also our main page here at YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. We always go live every Sunday for you guys and have great content throughout the week as well. But that will do it for us. So until next weekend, do us a favor, as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.